Assalamualaikum to our viewers and especially to our beloved Sir Azam bin Yaakob. So today, Group 4 that consists of Nur Sabrina, Nurul Hanani, Nur Edina and me myself, Nurul Aina, will present the case study on accounting fraud of a company which is Transmart Group Berhad. Moving on to the first part, introduction. So the first part of introduction, I'm gonna explain on intro in accounting fraud. So what is exactly meaning of fraud in general? So fraud is actually maybe a wrong figure of the evidence or matters which result in the items of the fraud that get wrong by acting upon the incorrect matters. The second point is accounting fraud. As in accounting, they refer to as an accounting fraud, which is that the fraud that are happened and do intentionally by those that are involved. For examples, like the workers of the corporate, accountants, or the organization itself. These people will manipulate the corporate financial statement to misleading the statements. It is also against the law adjustments of economic statements of the corporate. As we all aware that accounting fraud is against the law adjustment of economic statement of the corporate. A corporation can fake their financial statement by adjusting it. For examples, what they do in terms of fraud is that they purposely faking or misstate the financial reports which lead their intention to adjust it just in case they need to try and do it later to close their fraud. So if it is unintentional statements, it will not be considered as accounting fraud. Next example, which is the persons in charge will overstate the revenue, misstating the assets and liability, or not recorded the expenses at all. Overstating the revenue is that they may be defined because the company face a loss or not make enough revenue in the company. So what the corporate do is that they will overstate their revenue to hide their losses to the opposite parties. For not recording the expenses in their earning report is that this may show that the corporate gain more profit by overstate their revenue and not stated their expenses. Cook the book. Other than accounting fraud that had happened in accounting, there are also cook the book fraud. Cook the book is part as a slang from committed accounting tricks to form the company's financial statement result looks satisfying than what happened in reality. So basically, cook the book is implying manipulating the financial reports or data. It is meaning that it will raise the company's revenue and reduce or minimize the expenses to inflate their profits and earnings. There are a bunch of tactics that the businesses can use and liquidate order to enhance their financial reporting result. Second point is, cook the book could also be a fraud against the law which lead the parent company and also the persons who are involved or responsible in adjusting the financial report. So this corporate or individual will get caught and face penalties, fines, or get into prisons. It also will cause the shattering of the corporate itself. Several cook the books fraud that are done by the businesses are, for examples, the corporate not recorded the expenses on this year's and recorded it on the following of the yearly financial statements. By doing it, the profit that gained from the businesses within the current year are look more favorable. Next example that happened in cookbooks fraud is credit sales and maximize the profit. So in this situation, it happens when the corporate use the sales that happen to maximize the profit. It is because when the sales are happen, the corporate are recorded it as a sales, even the purchaser can pay it in due of 6 months.
So we continue with fraud happened in Transmart Group Berhad. So Transmart Group Berhad is a company where they are providing air transportation services, and they deals in aircraft parts and equipment, and they are providing aircraft engineering and line maintenance services and aircraft ground handling services. So the company was founded by Gan Boon On in November 1993, and the company was listed in Bursa Malaysia Securities Berhad on 27/1997. And in 2007, the company was hit by accounting scandal where it claims that the company was overstated their profits and revenue not only in 2006 but since 2004. And because of the failure of Transmart Group Berhad, it was not only affected to the company, but it also affected to their shareholders as well. Next is how was the fraud perpetrated and concealed. So Transmart Group Berhad was hit with an accounting scandal, and the scandal started when the company failed to follow their deadline of submission of audited annual accounts for financial year 30 December 2006. And for a company to submit their audited annual accounts, they must submit within 4 months after the close of their financial year. So for Transmart, they must submit at the end of the month, which is 30 April 2007. So, Deloitte and Tachi, who is an external auditor for Transmart Group, they rejected their annual accounts because of Deloitte found out that they are lack of certain supporting documents, and because of this, Board of Directors has hired special audit who is Morse Roland Risk Management to handle this case. And what they found is that Transmile has materially overstated their revenues and profits even from 2004 in the audited annual accounts. So because of this, the group's former CEO Gan Boon On and former CFO Low Chok Ping and former executive directors Hudin Mohammed, they were charged because they were charged on purposely making misleading statement for its quarterly report. So Morse found out that the company has suffered losses up to RM 496 million in 2005 and 2006, and they also have suffered losses RM 126.3 million. Instead of they are saying that they are gaining profit of RM 157.5 million. And lastly, Morse found that in 2005, Transmile has losses RM 369.6 million. Instead of they reported that they are gaining profit of RM 84.4 million. Next is who is the whistleblower. So whistleblower is actually play a hard role in a corporate environment, and everyone won't come out and say what is the wrong with the company, but as a whistleblower you must come out when there is a hidden things in the company, and this will prevent the company from a full disclosure. So in this Transmart Group case, I can say that the whistleblower is their special auditor, who is Morse Roland Risk Management. When they found out that the company had materially overstated their profits and revenues, not only from 2006, their unaudited annual accounts, but since 2004 in their audited annual accounts. So the company profits in the company's profit for the 2006 this actually had reversed from profit to a loss. So Morse Roland, in what I said just now about how was the fraud perpetrated and concealed, Morse found out that Transmart Group has suffered losses on 2005 and 2006 instead of gaining a profit. So this is because of the lack of supporting documents, and also because of this, their former independent director, which is Chim Kim Fyong and Shukri Sheikh Abdul Tawab, are being charged individually with purposely mislead the statement to Bursa Malaysia.
Next, we will proceed to the deep pressures, the opportunities and the rationalizations that have been found into the Transmart Group Berhad cases. The fraud triangle is a model that developed by Donald Arkwright. It is explaining about the aspect that may affect to the organizations that commit any occupational fraud in their company. The fraud triangle has three parts, which is pressures or incentive, opportunities and rationalizations that will may show how and why fraudulent behavior happened. Based on the Transmart Group Berhad cases, they are perpetrating fraud in the company. The first fraud triangle is pressure, when common incentive for companies to manipulate financial statement is a decline in the company's financial prospect. Based on the Transmart Group Berhad cases, the pressure that had been found in the company when the company was hit with accounting scandal in 2007. It is happened when they fail to attach by the due date to submit their audited annual accounts for the financial year ended 31st December 2006 to Bursa Malaysia. But then, it became unpleasant when their external auditor, which is Deloitte and Touch, made decision to decline the approval of annual account to approve due to lack of some supporting documents. Therefore, thus, the board of directors should play their roles very well by giving the accurate documents, and they have to knowledge about the date of submissions of annual account on time. This will avoid any issues in the future that may affect of the status and reputations on Transmart and other parties. Apart from that, they found out there are some revenue and profit were materially exaggerated on the unaudited annual accounts on 2006 and the 2 years back before audited annual accounts on 2004 and 2005. These issues were affected the Transmart Group Berhad profit that had been upside down from profit to loss until the share price dropped to 8 ringgit Malaysia from 14 ringgit Malaysia when the company itself appointed Maurice Rowland Risk Management to lead a special audit by Deloitte and thus issue raised. Besides that, the board of directors of Transmart Group Berhad declared in their annual report before about their duty, yet they failed to do so by giving the power to the agent, which is Dato On Siu Nams, and one of the directors at Kwok Kun Ho, which is Kwok Groups. Nevertheless, they also failed to perform their duty truthful with some expectation and thought that the management will perform it well with the directors and corporate governance with no guidance. To all intents and purpose, they supposed to perform their duties as far as they clarify in the annual report instead of put statement in order of complete and perfect annual report to be audited by auditor before released to the public. The next fraud triangle part are opportunities, where the financial statement of all companies are potentially subject to manipulate the risk and greater for companies in industries where significant judgment and estimate are involved. Based on Transmart Group Berhad cases, opportunities start to happen when there are two incidents that had been notified by the audit committee and the top executive on 14 and 15 February 2007. They found a major accounting issues on the fourth quarter of 2006 unaudited report. The auditor decided to meet the board of directors to discuss and confirm about the approval unaudited annual account. Unfortunately, the annual account has been released before the auditor taken actions when it is released 2 weeks before the date of submissions. This issue occurred due to lack of in communications between the internal auditor, external auditor, and the board of directors. In fact, this will lead the audit committee and top executive to feel skeptical on the board of directors to conceal something related to Transmile company. The effect of release unaudited annual account. The independent auditor may be able to making a misleading misstatement to Bursa Malaysia that break the listing requirement of the exchange. The last part of fraud triangle are rationalization, where the attitude of top management toward financial reporting is a critical risk factor in assessing the likelihoods of fraudulent financial statement. Based on Transmart Group Berhad cases, Deloitte and Touch is an independent auditor, yet they already had more than 10 years relationship with Transmart company. The long-term relationship may have intention with familiarity trait that will be bring a bad effect to the auditor independence and their quality in auditing tasks. Indeed, it was Deloitte and Touch's intention to stay with Transmile company, even though they received an audit fees that were comparatively insufficient since they were worried of losing clients. Having a long-term relationship between the external auditor and the company itself may have misunderstanding and misstatement due to familiarity trait as the Deloitte and Touch clarify their statement reason to decline to approve the annual account before. The reason are the board of directors itself was not giving a commitment to the auditor by giving the accurate supporting document that had been asked for in order to cover up the management fraud idea, to satisfy themselves and to ensure the company will sustain their profit and revenue every year.
Consequent from the Transmile Group Berhad scandal. First is shareholder, employee, auditor, government Malaysia and Bursa Malaysia, and also we have a company and guilty parties. So we go through one by one. First is shareholder. Some of the shareholder affected by the share crash during this scandal. The massive drop on 3 January 2007, share price from as high at 14 ringgit 40 cents to 50 cents at the top of the March 2010. This is caused the huge loss on the shareholder wealth. So the largest of the shareholder was Trinity Coral Sendian Berhad, and also the largest shareholder is in this Transmile Group Berhad is Cook Group, and the others portable shareholder is Push Malaysia and JP Morgan. Okay, we move to the next point. The next point is employees. This scandal caused a huge consequence on Transmile Group Berhad employee and also to the former employee of the company. With this is going to cause the tarnishings of the good name of the company in employees, either they involved or either they involved directly or to the fraud, or they have no idea um, about this fraud. Okay, all the employee has been affected, while some of them didn't know about this fraud. Okay, we move to the third point is auditor. So we know the Transmile Group Berhad auditor is Deloitte and Touch. Okay, the failure by Deloitte and Touch to detect the material error in Transmile financial statement had cast a doubt on the auditor's competence and due care. They also gave a public doubt to the credibility of the auditing profession and affected the public confidence in auditor duties. So we move to the next. Malaysian's government and also Bursa Malaysia. Okay, the Transmile Group Berhad scandal has damaged Malaysia integrity and credibility in a corporate government's governance, as well as sincerity in Malaysia's government reputation for promoting corporate accountability and integrity was affected by Transmile Group Berhad scandal. Okay, As we know, Transmile was listed under a Bursa Malaysia market list for several years before this scandal. Okay, after the incidents, the company had made a share price decrease. We move to the next point is a company. Okay, Transmart company itself most highly affected by this fraud. Okay, a national cargo which flew high on the top but has a shrank down and turned into the company that has no business activity at all, and not many subsidiary and affiliates that has been long dormant and inactive. Okay, so the last point is the guilty parties. So we have three guilty parties, which is Elkan Bun on Lu Kok Ping and also Qudin bin Muhammad. Okay, the the board of the director who were involved in the financial uh, scandal had fined by the Security Commissions on the Bursa Malaysia Security Berhad. After the scandal, each of the directors already lost some credibility and integrity in the public judgment. We move to the conclusions.
The last part is conclusion. A lot of people affected by the fraud did by Transmile Group Berhad. It doesn't matter who the perpetrator is. The most important is the lesson we need to learn from this accounting fraud. Second point is there are many factors that result to steer the fraud within the Transmile case. So the first factor is the managerial behavior that desire to create the organization that appear to be good in terms of performance. This factor which will cause the activity of reporting the next profit than the actual amount. Besides that, lack of control systems and lack of monitoring. Lack of control system prevent and detect the misconduct result to fraud to occur unexpectedly. And lack of monitoring is that monitoring and detecting by the board of directors themselves. Trustman should identify the cause that there is major increase within the profit amount. The third factor is that whistleblowing can cause a businesses to lose future business venture. Whistleblowing needs a transparent of support from the organizations. Therefore, companies should provide a great support to whistleblowers by ensuring their job security. Resultantly, the whistleblower will notice or sense that they are being secure and braced. The last factor is that it is important for corporate to use whistleblowing as a tool to detect fraud. It is within the corporate, although that might be a side effect of the fraud being exposed, because it is for the protections and so that the corporate itself in long run developments and growth.
Okay, welcome back. Okay, I showed that presentation on Transmile because for your essay exam, for your essay exam, which is I think 21st of January, for our open book exam, it is likely that you'll be asked to compare two companies. The pairing, I'm not sure which one, but it's likely that you may be asked to compare the scandals of Cyberdynamic with WorldCom, one pair possible. You may be asked to compare Cyberdynamic with Transmile. That's why I played that presentation. Or you may ask to compare Cyberdynamic with Enron. Right, three possibilities. So you have to sort of do your research into this pairing of companies to compare. in your answers. Before you can come up with recommendation, you need to write down the chronology of the events, what actually happened in some detail lah. So I think Cyberdynamic, if you watch the past video, that gentleman that gave a presentation and on his own research is quite good. You can rewatch that to get an idea of what is the nitty-gritty of the Cyberdynamic fraud. Then for WorldCom, I think if you look at your lecture notes that was provided to you under lecture notes, you will find there's a WorldCom breakout on page 14 now, the English version. I think the Bahasa version is around that kind of page. There's a recap on WorldCom and Enron. So if you look at WorldCom, it's on page 22. I've sent a PDF to you actually of the lecture notes. So do open it up today and go to page 22 on the WorldCom background of the WorldCom accounting scandal. Okay, so for the essay exam, the possibilities of the 4-hour open book exam is that you will be asked to compare the accounting scandal of the pairing. I think would be likely to be maybe Cyberdynamic versus WorldCom. Yeah, first possibility. Second possibility is compare Cyberdynamic with Enron. And another possibility is compare Cyberdynamic with Transmart. Okay, with Transmart, 3 possibility lah. Maybe, but Cyberdynamic is a common one which I think will be used because it's quite a big Malaysian accounting scandal. So it's good for you all to know lah. Any questions on this so far? You can Google Transmart on YouTube. You'll find a few more such presentations, yeah, on Transmart accounting scandals. Any questions so far on this? Can you hear me? Just testing the audio, just in case I get muted or something. Is the audio okay? Can you hear?
Okay, okay.
Okay, good. Okay, so if you look at your lecture notes, the Bahasa English version one, the BM1 version, I think the page number will be about the same, page 22. So 2.2, they mentioned about the WorldCom accounting scandal. So WorldCom review in 2002 that there's multi-billion US dollar accounting errors. Actually, it's fraud, but they call it errors. And the amount involved came to about 8 billion US dollars. So the company actually announced that an internal audit has discovered that there's a multi-billion US dollar in profit that were improperly recorded in the books from 1999 to 2002. So may I ask you, 1999 to 2002, how many years? 3-4 years. Nobody discovered this. Not even the Big Four auditor, which is Arthur Anderson. So the 3.3 plus another 3.8 billion in expenses. So they inflated the profit by 3 billion, but they also under-reported perbelanjaan expenses by 3 billion, 3.8 billion. So altogether, you're talking about very big numbers. Okay. So WorldCom said most of the irregularities involved the manipulation of reserves. So companies set aside reserves to cover estimated losses, such as uncollected payments from customers, judgments and lawsuits and other expected costs. They've been hiding the cost somewhere under the door and swept it under the carpet, and nobody discovered it until a whistleblower came along. So you can read through that. Who's to be blamed? Of course, the CEO and the CFO were to be blamed. They were charged, handcuffed, and in front of TV cameras. And then when there was during the George Bush administration, there was a crackdown on corporate crime, and Bernie Ebbers, the founder and CEO, was sentenced to 20 years, 20 tahun penjara. Okay. And the CFO was charged 10 tahun penjara. So if you compare with Serba Dynamic, where the amounts are not as big, but by Malaysian standards, it's still pretty big, isn't it? Close to 1 billion ringgit. Is all the parties concerned, the CEO, the executive director, and CFO, all kena only compound of 2 million ringgit, which is about 600,000 US dollars lah, and to be paid by installments. So I think the punishment is very, very light for the Serba Dynamic case versus WorldCom and Enron. So in America, in the Western country, when they enforce the regulation, they really, put a slammer down, heavy punishment. I think in Singapore also they also would have heavy punishments for these cases. Now, so Malaysia actually got very good laws, ada banyak bagus punya undang-undang, very good regulation, even better than Singapore. But unfortunately, our enforcement is number one, not very consistent. So some people kena quite, whereas other people get very light punishment, very light punishment. So there's no consistency in the sentencing and the punishment. So there should be some guidelines, on these punishments. So do read through all this. Why did not the WorldCom accountants, in US they call accountants, they call auditors as accountants also. So when US they talk about accountants, they actually refer to auditors. But in Malaysia, when we say auditors, means juru audit lah. Terminology is a bit different. So why didn't the auditors spot the problem? Arthur Anderson is the auditor, same person, that will look after Enron's books, so they cannot be trusted. So you can say that maybe they know it, but they did not voice it out. They did not raise the red flag. Then WorldCom appointed new auditors, KPMG. So KPMG came in and dig up all the skeletons lah. And all these were reported. So do look through all that. So because of the WorldCom case, the US passed a law called the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, which Malaysia also sort of copied and came out with the Capital Market Service Act, CMSA 2007. Now, WorldCom have to write off 50 billion US dollars at the end of the whole affair. So this is one of the biggest write-off in corporate history. So 50 billion US dollar is equivalent to 250 billion ringgit, almost equal to the GDP of Malaysia. So many people lose their jobs. Bernie Ebbers went to jail for 20 years, and I think he passed away. He died about 5 years ago of ill health. The CFO is now out, a free man after he served his sentence. Okay, any questions now so far? Maybe what I can do is I'll run through a WorldCom presentation to give you a background of the people involved. Oh, okay, before I do that, the question asked, what are the ways to prevent all these scandals from happening? I think in your answers, you can also mention that one of the things that can be done to prevent all these scandals from happening is education of the public. So in Malaysia, we have the Capital Market Service, now CMSA 2007 Development Fund. it is under the Capital Market Service Act. There's a requirement for the participants in the capital market to contribute to this fund. And the purpose of this fund is to educate the public on all these frauds and all these creative accounting and cheating cases, so that people will be able to discern and find out for themselves all these scandals, and they can be the whistleblower and report to the authorities, and they themselves don't get cheated lah. So this is funded from the Capital Market Service Act, and a lot of these seminars are free for the public. So one of the ones that I've attended is the one in Sabah Sarawak in, I think, September 2022. There are many of these seminars where they educate the public about the Wang Cepat scheme, the scams. You hear about all the scams recently. Yeah. So this is one of the programs that they have conducted, which I thought was quite good. And maybe you want to have a look at this.
Baiklah, untuk taklimat yang pertama ini, majlis dengan segala sukacitanya mempersilakan Encik Kamarul Rozman, penceramah dari Suruhanjaya Security Malaysia, untuk mengendalikan sesi taklimat beliau. Dipersilakan.
Yes.
Assalamualaikum, selamat pagi dan salam sejahtera. Terima kasih Haniza. Saya Kamarul Rozman Nordin daripada Jabatan Pengguna dan Pelabur.
Start. Okay.
Sorry about that. It seemed to have hanged. Never mind, we can see that afterwards.
Ataupun turun. Itu special arrangement yang ditawarkan oleh syarikat berlesen dengan Suruhanjaya Security Malaysia. Dan ASB ni adalah, dan ASB dan beberapa produk lain yang ditawarkan oleh ASNB, Amanah Saham Nasional Berhad, adalah dia mempunyai ciri-ciri yang istimewa lah. Selain daripada tu, bila kita cakap pasal pelaburan, apa yang kita invest, ada kemungkinan naik, ada kemungkinan turun. Tapi kalau kita buat keuntungannya lebih tinggi daripada simpanan. Ya. So, apa-apa pun untuk melabur, kita perlulah mulakan dengan budaya menyimpan dulu kan. So, kita simpan dulu duit kita, dan bila kita dah simpan duit, baru kita consider untuk labur. Okay, next slide. Okay, saya nak tekankan di sini pentingnya kita mula melabur ketika kita masih muda. Penipuan firma klon adalah satu skim yang popular ketika ini. Apa itu skim penipuan firma klon? Skim penipuan firma klon atau clone firm scam akan menggunakan nama, logo dan butiran firma atau syarikat yang sah atau terkemuka, sama ada dari dalam atau luar negara, untuk mempromosikan skim pelaburan palsu. Itulah sebabnya kita panggil skim firma klon. Nama firma klon ini sekali imbas nampak sama seperti yang sah, tetapi sebenarnya tidak. Skim ini kebiasaannya akan dipromosikan atau ditawarkan melalui platform-platform media sosial seperti WhatsApp, Telegram dan Facebook. Sekarang ni yang kami nampak, dia akan promote di Facebook. Contohnya, bila kita klik berminat, dia akan bawa kita ke Telegram. And kadang-kadang kita tanpa kita sedar pun, kita dah masuk dalam Telegram group. Ya. And then setahu saya ada cara untuk kita elakkan daripada nombor kita dimasukkan ke dalam Telegram group tanpa our approval. Kita ada kena set dia punya security features. Ya. So skim firma klon ni menjanjikan pulangan yang sangat tinggi dalam masa yang sangat singkat. Dengan hanya jumlah pelaburan yang kecil seperti RM300, pelabur dijanjikan pulangan yang berlipat kali ganda sehingga belasan malahan puluhan ribu ringgit hanya dalam masa kurang 24 jam. Tetapi ini sebenarnya hanyalah indah kabar dari lupa, kerana keuntungan yang dibuat cumalah di atas kertas dan pelabur tidak berpeluang untuk mengeluarkannya. Selepas kita masuk 300 tu, kemudian dalam masa 6 jam ke, dalam masa 1 hari ke, kita akan dapat WhatsApp, kononnya kita dah dapat pulangan yang dijanjikan. Tapi bila kita nak bawa keluar duit tu, pelbagai alasan akan mereka beri supaya pelabur cuba semasa kita nak keluarkan tu. Untuk mendapatkan keuntungan yang dijanjikan, mangsa akan diminta memberikan lebih banyak wang. Kebiasaannya ribuan ringgit, kononnya untuk pembayaran cukai pendapatan dan pelbagai bayaran lain. Dan untuk meyakinkan mangsa, mereka akan menggunakan sijil, invoice dan resit pembayaran palsu yang kononnya dikeluarkan oleh pihak berkuasa seperti Lembaga Hasil, Bank Negara Malaysia dan SC. Dan setelah pembayaran tambahan ini dibuat, mereka akan menghilangkan diri dan tidak akan dapat dihubungi lagi. So oleh yang demikian, sekurang-kurangnya call Lembaga Hasil Dalam Negeri, SC dan Bank Negara Malaysia untuk sahkan betul ke kena buat pembayaran tersebut. Dan call kononnya syarikat yang menawarkan skim pelaburan tersebut. Kalau dia kata Khazanah Malaysia, so kita Google, kita jangan guna phone number yang dia orang bagi sebab dia orang dah sedia lah. Kalau kita call, kita tanya betul ke ni, mestilah dia orang cakap betul. So kita Google sendiri Khazanah Malaysia, tengok apa nombor phone rasmi dia orang, tanya betul ke, ataupun kita Google check website mereka yang asli, yang betul, kita check. Dan bila you check, you takkan nampak pun skim yang ditawarkan tu. Okay, next. Baru-baru ini Investment pun menjadi mangsa skim penipuan firma klon. Kita boleh lihat package yang ditawarkan, bagaimana scammer memperdayakan pelabur. Kononnya kalau kita ambil package VIP atau VVIP, kita akan dapat pulangan yang lebih tinggi daripada package basic. Ya. So ada juga skim sebegini yang mula-mulanya pelabur dapat pulangan yang dijanjikan. Ya, kata masuk 300, besok dapat 1000. So besoknya kita dapat 1000. Tujuan dia nak bagi kita lebih confident, lebih yakin. Kalau betul kita mulalah fikir, kalau kita masuk 300, kita masuk 1000. Baik kita masuk 3000, kita dapat 10,000. So kita masuk lebih banyak. Bila masuk kita lebih banyak, itu yang kita jadi mangsa. Ya. Okay. Next. Baru-baru ni pun SSC ada buat siasatan akhbar untuk memberi amaran kepada masyarakat Malaysia mengenai peningkatan mendadak penipuan pelaburan yang dipromosikan dalam aplikasi Telegram. Baiklah, sekarang saya nak kongsikan 7 langkah bagaimana untuk mengelakkan diri kita daripada menjadi mangsa skim penipuan pelaburan. Langkah pertama, kita kena berwaspada dengan peluang pelaburan yang ditawarkan di platform media sosial.
So if an auditor is auditing this type of company and he finds out that there is a scheme, is a Ponzi scheme or illegal, the auditor is required to go and whistleblow and report to the authorities without actually telling, the directors of this company. So auditors is the first line of defense. If they were actually engaged to do an audit in this company as part of the annual audit under Akta Syarikat, and then in the course of the audit, they discover that this company is involved in illegal schemes, this auditor would have to quietly go and report kepada Securities Commission atau Bank Negara without informing the directors of the company. So this is a very powerful deterrent, to prevent such companies, being incorporated and used to cheat people. Now, if the auditors sign off those accounts and do not whistleblow, and later on the whole thing blow up, then the auditor may be charged along together with the perpetrator of the Ponzi scheme.
Dan juga platform komunikasi seperti WhatsApp atau Telegram. Langkah kedua, ini amat penting ya. Bila membuat pelaburan, jangan sesekali serah wang tunai kepada individu atau pindahkan wang kita ke akaun milik individu atau perseorangan. Kalau kita ingat langkah ni alone pun, insya-Allah kita akan terselamat daripada menjadi mangsa skim penipuan pelaburan. Saya nak ingatkan, tiada sebarang skim pelaburan yang sah yang memerlukan wang tunai diserahkan kepada ejen atau dimasukkan ke akaun peribadi ejen. Ketiga, hanya membuat pembayaran ke akaun bank firma atau syarikat yang berlesen atau berdaftar dengan SC. Keempat, sebelum melabur, pastikan nama syarikat yang menawarkan pelaburan tersebut tiada di dalam senarai peringatan pelabur asli. Ini you boleh scan QR code ni, dia akan bawa terus kepada senarai peringatan pelabur asli ataupun asli investor alert list di website kami www.asli.com.my. So kalau you boleh quickly ambil gambar dan nanti boleh cuba. Dan kalau anda semua follow social media platform kami, setiap kali kami update our senarai peringatan ni, kami akan buat posting. Kelima, pastikan anda hanya berurusan dengan individu atau entiti yang dilesenkan atau berdaftar dengan asli. Ini pun saya syorkan, ambil gambar ni, scan the QR code dan dia akan bawa terus kepada laman web asli macam mana untuk kita semak. Keenam, bila kita dapat tawaran daripada tawaran pelaburan ataupun apa-apa pun, scam ni banyak jenis. Scam untuk beli barang lah. So kebiasaannya kita dapat email address, kita dapat phone number, kita dapat bank account number. So sebelum anda teruskan transaksi tersebut, pergi ke portal Semak Mule oleh Polis Diraja Malaysia ni, dan anda boleh check, boleh masukkan nombor phone dan nombor bank account, and then tengok semak sama ada dah pernah dilaporkan kepada polis atau tidak. So kalau ada laporan dengan polis, maknanya kita kena elakkan lah. So boleh scan juga QR code ni. Dan langkah yang ketujuh, jika anda masih ragu, hubungi asli di talian 6203 6204 8999 atau email ke aduan@setcom.com.my. Ini amat penting. So 7 langkah ni, kalau kata rasa amat sukar untuk kita laksanakan, ingat langkah 2 dengan langkah 7 je. Langkah nombor 2, bila buat pelaburan, tak boleh kita serahkan sama ada wang tunai kita kepada individu lain ataupun masukkan duit kita ke akaun individu milik akaun bank milik orang lain. Kena ingat yang tu. Baiklah, next. Apa-apa pun sebelum melabur, ingat formula TIPU, tipu, yang merupakan ciri-ciri skim penipuan atau scam. T, tidak akan rugi. Itu macam biasalah, bila dia nak suruh kita labur, dia akan cakap don't worry, memang takkan rugi punya. Indah kabar dia rupa ni, dia cuba nak yakinkan kita, dia tunjuklah, dia ambil gambar tepi Lamborghini, Ferrari, tepi private jet, kononnya tunjuk kita dah berjaya. Lagi satu, kalau dalam Telegram tu, kadang-kadang kita, macam saya cakap di awal presentation saya, kadang-kadang kita sedar kita dah masuk dalam Telegram group. Dan kononnya Telegram group tu kita tak boleh hantar mesej apa-apa. Tapi yang peliknya, kita duk tengok orang hantar mesej tunjuk macam mana mereka berjaya. Dah dapat tu, dah dapat ni. Itu pun pelik juga. Tapi peluang hanya sekali. Dia nak kita masuk hari ni juga. Dia kata kalau tak masuk hari ni memang kita tak ada peluang dah. You untung besar. Tu seperti biasalah. Hari ni kita labur 500, besok boleh dapat 10,000. Okay. Next. Saya syorkan lagi sekali ikuti atau follow platform sosial media Investmart serta YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter dan YouTube untuk maklumat lanjut tentang pelaburan di pasaran modal serta maklumat dan peringatan kami tentang skim-skim penipuan pelaburan. Next, Ila. Okey, ini untuk warga, untuk peserta di Sarawak, mungkin boleh share dengan kawan keluarga dan rakan-rakan. Pada 17 dan 18 September 2022, kami adakan program yang kami panggil Bersama Investmart at Sarawak 2022.
So this investment training programs is carried by, is actually done under Capital Market Service Act 2007, where in the Act, if you go through the Act with 13 sections, one of the sections talks about setting up of the Capital Market Service Development Fund. So this fund's purpose is to, one of the purpose is to upgrade the knowledge of the public regarding all these accounting scam, fraud, and so on, and Ponzi schemes and so on. So if everybody is educated on, say, this creative accounting thing and all these scams, then more likely that any such scandals will be stopped earlier, because people have knowledge about this. They would whistleblow, they will report to the authorities, and investigation can start earlier, rather than getting more and more people get cheated, because they're not aware of such a scam. But you'd be pretty amazed at how easily people can get cheated. Yeah, I've known of people who put in 30,000-40,000 ringgit into a bank account because somebody tells them it's a very good investment, can give you like 30% return per month, you know. So remember, when it's too good to be true, it's usually too good to be true. It's a con job. Okay, any questions so far? So in your answers, I think whether this ACTA, Companies Act 2016, and whether CMSA 207 can prevent such fraud, is that you can mention that the Companies Commission and the Securities Commission, who administer these two acts, can actually have been carrying out educational programs to inform the public about all these irregularities, including money laundering, and this will serve, in a way to prevent the bubble, the bubbles from getting bigger, and prevent the fraud from getting bigger, so that it become less damaging. Yeah. Any questions so far? Any questions? Yeah, today we are, basically going through the possible exam questions. Okay, let's go through some past year exam questions. These are past year. So in auditing, the questions remain about the same, but the answer changes with time because the law change. Okay, for example, in this particular essay question, can you see? Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
But I cannot see myself. Wait, wonder why I cannot see it. But you can see it. You can
You
see
shared the past question exam, right?
it's a past year paper. Yeah.
Ah.
Let me try again. See. But you can see there's a meeting. Okay, so you can see that, okay, financial crises occur frequently. Companies such as Cyberdynamic and WorldCom collapse due to creative accounting. Compare the scandal. So like I say, Cyberdynamic, you should write something comprehensive, 1-2 pages like this. You can do it in table form or you can do it in essay form, right? And so Cyberdynamic, I think you can write a lot, the history of the case. And the WorldCom scandal, you can refer to your lecture notes, which I mentioned just now, page 22. And also you can Google a lot of resources and materials on YouTube on these two scandals. So what is the role of Companies Act 2016 to prevent creative accounting? You all have done the relevant sections, right, on the PDF that I've sent to you and in fact, they've done a quiz also. So the quiz, can you remember the page of the quiz? What section is it? So to answer this question, you have to it's a repeat of your quiz basically. Like you can use some of those materials. So you kill two birds with one stone. Basically, your quiz can be used to answer this question also. The quiz answer. So you can use section 243 all the way to section 261. Yeah, then for auditors from 262 to 266. Then for private companies 267 to 270. Then from chapter 2 for public company 271, section 271 to 289. Yeah, you may, in this particular answer, you may want to have a summary of that in your answer. Yeah, if you do get such a question. So mention what are the sections, right? Which is accounts and audit and auditors. So I think from there, you will get a pretty good write-up already. Then from there, you pick up what section would prevent creative accounting. I would pick up, for example, 244 compliance with approved accounting standards. If you comply with accounting standards, then by right, you cannot simply go and cook the books, right? Accounts need to be kept. Then 246, you must have a system of internal control. Now, before you I'll go any further, can you define what is internal control? What do you mean by kawalan dalam internal control? So in your lecture notes, which I have WhatsApp to you all, is you can look at page. Looking at your lecture notes, there is a definition of internal control. Just trying to locate the page. If for exam, you may want to have two computers, one of the computer with to be switched on for the PDF, the PDF for this Companies Act, so you can refer to it. If you want to, you can actually buy the book also, which is not expensive in the popular bookstore. So internal control are steps and procedures being put in by the company to safeguard the assets of the company, promote efficiency, and also to ensure compliance with all the laws and regulations. Internal control. Just trying to look for that page in the book. Okay. Trying to locate internal control. But if you can Google the word internal control, you will get some pretty good definition of what is internal control. So to answer this question, you would need to define what is internal control first. Okay, page 60 of your lecture notes. Page 60 of your lecture notes at the top, 4.11. The internal control system or internal control process or internal control statements are all steps taken by the company. This is in your lecture note, page 60, under 4.11. The internal control system are all the steps taken by the company to, number one, safeguard its assets from waste, fraud, and negligence. Number two, upgrade the accounting and information system to ensure that information are reliable in a timely manner. Can you imagine you're flying an aeroplane and the readings on the screen are not accurate or up to date? You're in trouble, isn't it? So you need to upgrade your accounting and information system to ensure that information are available, reliable in a timely manner. Number three, to encourage adherence to companies' organizational procedures and policies. Number 4, to promote efficiency. And one more that I want to add in that's not in your note, number 5, is to ensure the compliance with all relevant regulations and laws. This one is not in your book. You add in number 5, which is to promote, to ensure, in fact, I shouldn't say promote, is to ensure compliance with all laws and regulations. Okay. So what sections in the Company Act that require, okay, what is the role of Companies Act 2016 to prevent creative accounting? You run through 243 to 273, you'll find many examples, of things being put in place by the law to ensure that you don't go and have creative accounting, punishment, how many years jail, that kind of thing, you should put down also. You already done the quiz. So basically, you can just repeat those things in there. Yeah. Except that you got additional thing is that how we can prevent creative accounting. So for example, consolidation of accounts will also ensure that everything is captured in a family photo to make sure that nothing is left out. So all companies also required to have system of internal control. This is 246. 251, financial statements to be approved by the board. So every board member have to sign, and if anything is wrong, they can be in trouble. And then, of course, there is an auditor statement required. You have to sign off whether the accounts are true and fair. Okay. The auditor must be licensed under the MOF, Ministry of Finance. Then Chapter 2 on Section 271, appointment of auditors to public companies must be approved by the shareholders, not by the directors, approved by them. And then the duty of the auditors to report back to shareholders on any fraud, any irregularities, and whether the accounts are true and fair. Okay. So we will expect you to have a pretty comprehensive answer on that. Unlike your assignment that asks you about the role of Companies Act and 2016 and CMSA 207, this particular question only stress on the role of Companies Act. Okay, so you just concentrate lah, Companies Act. In fact, if you buy the textbook in this what they call that, popular bookstore, it looks like that, blue color. If you are in the accounting profession, I think there's no harm getting this book for your work also, and keep on your desk, to impress your boss lah. Any questions so far on this? Okay, name the section of the Companies Act that require companies to have proper internal control. The answer is obviously in your assignment also, Section 246. All right, Section 246. Do explain a bit about it. Yeah. And that it should be some explanation, right, as well. What is the act and what is the punishment if you don't follow such a requirement? So if you look at 246, Section 246, I think there's some punishment on this if you don't do. Section 246 says that the directors of a public company or a subsidiary of a public company will have to have in place a system of internal control that provide, the word is reasonable assurance. Nobody can provide absolute assurance. You must mention in your answer that a couple of companies should have in place a system of internal control that will provide reasonable, underline reasonable. They want you to put this in under the law so that people are not misled that you can have absolute assurance. Nobody can have absolute assurance You can only have reasonable assurance that the assets of the company are safeguarded against loss from unauthorized use or disposition, and to give a proper account of the assets. B, all transactions are properly authorized and the transactions are recorded as necessary to enable the preparation of true and fair view of the financial statements. Any directors who contravene this section commits an offence and shall on conviction be liable to imprisonment not exceeding 3 years or a fine of 1 million ringgit, not exceeding 1 million ringgit, or both. So in order to get the full marks for this, you need to mention that also in your answer. So since it's an open book exam, I don't think you have any problem copying it down, isn't it? That section. Discuss the power and duties of auditors in Companies Act. Can the auditor prevent all fraud from occurring? So you have to look at the section on auditors. I think this question a bit open. You can mention that auditors also can refer to internal auditors. You can mention that under Companies Act is the external auditor. So external auditor's power to discover fraud is limited because only coming once a year. He can ask a lot of questions, he can do test checking, but if the fraud is well hidden, it's difficult for him to discover. Although the auditor have a wide power to ask for books, you need to give him all the things that he asked for, and also constrained by resources, how many auditors that they got working for him, junior auditors. So you must mention that can auditors prevent all fraud from occurring? The answer is no, because it can be done in what do you call that, in collusion with the whole entire management team, and it could be very well hidden. So, however, there are other types of auditors that can work together with the external auditor, which is the internal auditor, and also the forensic auditor. These three types of auditors can work together, and they will have a better chance of preventing or reducing the incidents of fraud occurring. What are the general requirements of the financial statement required by Section 249? Very simple. Just look at 249 and you just repeat proper books have to be kept, consolidated accounts require, financial statements approved by who? It's approved by the board, right? Not approved by the shareholder. The shareholder is supposed to only receive the report and question. So who approved the financial statement? Answer is the directors, not the shareholders. So you should look at all those sections in your book and put in the answer. So the answer cannot be one line. It should be a few lines. Yeah, something substantial. It's a 4-hour exam. So you should write a bit more. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? Whatever you're not sure, better ask today. Yeah. Today's supposed to be last class. I received the assignments and pembentangan from most of you. A few of you are still lagging behind. So those who have not had in, please try to they have to send it in by this week and don't PDF it. Send it to me in Microsoft Words copy. Any questions so far on the essay? So the essay question, the pairing, I repeat again, possible pairing. I don't know which one they will choose. It can be Cyberdynamic versus WorldCom. It can be Cyberdynamic versus Enron, or it can be Cyberdynamic versus Transmal. So you need to know these three companies, the background case quite well in order to write something of substance. Now what I do now is maybe I would play some clips from WorldCom, right? So that you have an idea for those who have not done your research, what the WorldCom case is all about. Just give me a minute or two while I try and set it up.
A telecom giant destroyed by a massive accounting fraud. At the heart of the fraud, control.
WorldCom Incorporated executives Scott D. Sullivan and David F. Myers were charged with 7 counts of securities fraud.
WorldCom, a telecom giant destroyed by a massive accounting fraud. At the heart of the fraud, Controller David Myers, a former Ernst & Young senior manager.
Any one of us could be put in those situations.
He's a former employee. It could be me.
I was shocked.
Mr. Myers was a reluctant participant in the events that have led us here today.
But if you're not careful, things could turn out the wrong way.
He looked like a regular guy. If it could happen to him, it could happen to you.
What led Myers to participate in the fraud, and what can we learn about doing the right thing from his example? Find out in this special ethics and compliance presentation.
Hello, I'm Steve Howe, America's Area Managing Partner.
Now, this one is very interesting. As part of his punishment that the CFO was asked to take part in this program to educate the people like you and me and also other auditors to not take part in fraud. He himself went to jail, but he has repented. So he's appearing today to tell you what actually happened and what happened, why he agreed to do the fraud. So it boils down to, I think, what Nora said about last week about ethics. You know, ethics do not take part in illegal activities, no matter how much money you can get. But of course, one other student have disputed that, and said that, if money is good enough, why not? But that is your call, it's an ethical call. So today is interesting. This guy that was actually caught and sent to jail is today talking to you, advising you to not to do it because of ethical or of your ethics, etica.
Partner. The story of WorldCom underscores the importance of personal responsibility and of always making the right ethical choices. At Ernst & Young, our
now you can put this as your answer also under can prevent fraud. You can put apart from the act, you believe that maybe ethics and educating the people in ethics, like what just now the program that I show you from the Sabah Sarawak FPAM Securities Commission, they try to promote awareness and also to educate people to be ethical. Yeah. So maybe that might work because people can be persuaded to be good people, as opposed to somebody that would like to take advantage of the system to try and cheat and make money from it. But, it's a very judgmental call. Okay.
Values are the basis for all of our actions. By reflecting our values in the choices you make and following our code of conduct, you send a clear message about our commitment to ethical behavior. And you contribute in a very real way to building the reputation of Ernst & Young. In a broader sense, all of you help build confidence in our profession and the public's trust in our capital markets. Recently, Jeff Hoops, our America's Ethics and Compliance Officer, sat down with David Myers to speak with him about his role in the WorldCom fraud.
So David Myers, this guy they're looking at, was the former CFO of WorldCom. He has been charged. I think he went into for free lodging at the jail for a while. Now he come out and he's turned over a new leaf, and he's now he's teaching ethics now, basically. I think it's a good thing, right? He's the best person to teach you about it because he's gone through it.
As you'll see, Myers' story shows that none of us really know how we will react under pressure. It also shows how one small compromise can lead down a slippery slope. In these difficult economic times, your clients may be under more pressure than ever before to meet their earnings targets. That means you may come under pressure as well. I want you to remember that our firm will always support you in making the right choices and doing the right thing. I hope you'll continue to consult with one another and always be confident that no matter what happens, nothing is more important than your own personal integrity and commitment to the highest ethical standards.
Hello, I'm Jeff Hoops, America's Ethics and Compliance Officer. One of the largest accounting frauds in U.S. history occurred at a company called WorldCom. Between 1999 and 2002, WorldCom overstated its pre-tax income by more than $5 billion. The overstatement was caused by aggressively and ultimately fraudulently reducing reserves and fraudulently capitalizing operating expenses. This Wall Street high flyer ultimately declared bankruptcy. Its stock became worthless. 17,000 people lost their jobs and their pensions. Investors lost billions. The principal players in this fraud all went to jail, including the CEO, Bernie Ebbers, the CFO, Scott Sullivan, and the controller, David Myers. By way of background, Myers worked for Ernst & Young for about 11 years before he left as a senior manager to work for a private company and eventually for WorldCom. For a variety of reasons, WorldCom found it could not meet its financial projections and Wall Street's expectations in the fourth quarter of 1999. Here's an excerpt from my interview in which Myers describes a conversation he had with CFO Scott Sullivan about the financial results.
In the third or fourth quarter of 1999, I personally brought financial statements into Scott and showed him a margin that was, in Scott's words, completely unacceptable. And his exact words were that we had completely, well, these aren't his exact words, that we had screwed up, that we had made a mistake, and to take the financial statements, he wasn't even going to keep them, they were wrong. So, I knew they weren't, but I didn't, at that point in time, didn't know enough facts about it to be able to tell him that he was wrong. So I took the financial statements back. We reworked the entire quarter and came back to basically the same number. So when I took those back to Scott, again, his response was, this is so far off where we had told the public market we're going to be, we can't do this. There must be a mistake. There has to be a mistake. Scott's probably the brightest person I've ever met in my life, from a financial perspective or almost any perspective. And when someone that you respect from an intelligence perspective, I mean, there's obviously a lot of loyalty and everything else. When he says that he knows for a fact that the information that you're providing is wrong, that you've made a mistake, you assume, or I assumed that we had made a mistake. And so we went back and reworked the numbers again, coming back to, for all intents and purposes, the same number. All of this time frame, we're a public company. Public company is about to release its quarterly earnings, and so the time frame to release your earnings is set. The time that we're at this point trying to figure out what's wrong, is we're creeping closer and closer to the time we have to release our earnings. So Scott actually tells me, I know the numbers are wrong, I know what they should be, we need to book an entry to get where I know we should be, and then we'll figure out what the error is at the end of the quarter, and the next quarter is going to be just the same error, but the opposite direction. The two will wipe out each other, and everything will be fine, but you need to produce an entry this quarter to fix the problem that I know is there. And that was the real pressure that the accounting department was put under, was producing an entry that was based on the CFO's thought process of what he thought the number should be, as opposed to what we knew the underlying answer was.
He knew, based on what he had discovered in the financial data, that they were having problems. And I think that if you find something like that, you need to just let it out. Don't let someone, even if there's pressure, if they're your superior, saying, I think this is wrong. I mean, show me the evidence.
He was sort of stuck in between a rock and a hard place. I mean, it was a conflict of what he was taught to do, which is sort of respect your bosses, and he clearly had a strong respect for Scott. And on the other hand, he was probably conflicted because internally he had a moral check, which sort of said, maybe I shouldn't follow these orders.
I would have stopped and realized that in order for me to make a wise decision, then I would have needed to consult with others.
He should have talked to somebody else, like a third party, to get a sort of unbiased or independent opinion as to, here's what I'm doing, is this right? And ask those questions. And coming from a background that he has, being with an accounting firm for about 11 years, should have prompted him to ask those questions.
The expected turnaround in the numbers never happened. The problem was not the accounting, it was WorldCom's weakening business. In our next excerpt, Myers described what happens 2 quarters later when he realized that there was no accounting mistake and that the first reserve release was now a real problem.
The third quarter, it had happened twice. The first one, I honestly believe that we had made a mistake. I didn't know how, but Scott convinced me that there was just an error. The second was, well, we now think we know what the error is, and we're going to try to fix it. So we're going to make the adjustment twice. Not comfortable doing it, but again, we're not doing anything that is considered criminal or fraudulent. It's just not good accounting. And we could probably be called to task, and we should have disclosed, been more open in our disclosure. The third quarter, when there really was, in my opinion, nothing in the future that was going to change what the situation was, and we were still fixing it. We were preparing at that point in time, in my opinion, it had sort of moved past being aggressive accounting into this is wrong. And then, so then the entire pressures that come about you is at what point in this linear, equation was I really wrong? So this is the third time I'm going to do this. Is it the first time that it's wrong? Or this is the first time that I did it 2 quarters ago? Was that wrong? And so all of a sudden you've stepped off onto a slope that you're halfway down the mountain and you didn't even know that you're on the mountain. So then it was sort of a survival. What do we do? Well, you got to sort of keep doing what you're doing, or you got to raise the flag that there's something, completely amiss. And then what are the consequences of that? I mean, it was a moral and ethical dilemma that you were facing, and nothing had prepared you to deal with the kind of pressures that you were currently under.
He really gets into the third quarter where he realizes that something is really not right here. And at that time, he should have said something to the CFO or the audit committee or the internal audit department that we've done something wrong, something's not right here, and we need to correct it.
There's a certain element of shock, like, is my superior really asking me to stand behind numbers which don't exist and do not tie to the financial statements and the numbers? Like, how do you deal with that? And I think it's an element of self-confidence that you really have to develop. And as you learn, and if you're in that kind of position, you should theoretically develop that as you go. You have your moral instincts and you should follow them at all times.
He knew it was wrong, and if you know something is wrong, that's where you feel like you should challenge even more, because if you know the facts and it's all leading to the wrong answer, he's got to challenge them.
You just have to follow your own instinct. Sometimes that just has to rule out what others are trying to pressure you to do.
Unfortunately, the fraud didn't stop there. Eventually, WorldCom ran out of reserves to release. The accounting department, under pressure from Scott Sullivan, decided to capitalize operating expenses. The fraud was eventually uncovered by WorldCom's internal auditor, Cynthia Cooper. Myers subsequently pleaded guilty.
So it was the internal auditor, Cindy, the lady who was brave enough blow the whistle. Yeah, to blow the whistle. And then the whole thing began to unravel. I say she's brave because, if this bunch of people are violent people, she might get killed, yeah, because you're talking about big money. So, like I mentioned to you today on the WhatsApp, there's this scandal we have in Malaysia called Bank Bumiputra Finance many years ago, I think before you guys were born. In the subsidiary in Hong Kong was involved in fraudulent activities by lending out loans to related parties in Hong Kong. So Jalil Ibrahim was the internal auditor. He wasn't the external auditor. He was sent there to investigate, and he found something. But before he can report it back to Malaysia, he was murdered in the Hong Kong. So I mean, whistleblowing is good concept, yeah, but then the law must also offer some kind of protection, like maybe bodyguards, maybe protection by police, that kind of thing, So Jalil didn't have bodyguards, so he was strangled. Yeah, if you have time, we will watch a bit of that documentary. And another mistake that Jalil Ibrahim made was being an auditor, internal auditor. He also campur tangan in operational issues, matters. So in Hong Kong, he was actually also approving some of the loans, signing off loans, which an internal auditor shouldn't do. External auditor and internal auditor should not be involved in the operations of the company that they are auditing. They should be purely independent, and they are supposed to report back to the audit committee for actions on any findings. So in the case of Bank Bumiputra Finance, Jalil Ibrahim wasn't really reporting back to the audit committee. He was reporting back to the chairman of Bank Bumiputra. And the chairman of Bank Bumiputra was actually involved in these illegal loans, allegedly lah. But anyhow, he was the chairman was also arrested early on, charged, and was jailed, found guilty in jail. But Jalil lost his life lah, So you guys be careful when you're going overseas to do any checking work or investigation work. Make sure that you don't go and sing song or talk too much. If you find something, make sure you come back to Malaysia first before you sing song or talk about, talk about your findings. If those findings are very controversial findings,
and spent a year in prison. Scott Sullivan also pleaded guilty and is currently serving a 5-year sentence. Bernie Ebbers was convicted at trial and is spending 25 years in prison. Some of the more junior members of the accounting department also served.
So sorry, I was wrong. Bernie Ebbers didn't get 20 years. He got 25 years. There's quite a lot of jail sentence,
served up to a year in prison. There are many important lessons that can be learned from the WorldCom fraud. Here's Myers describing his life after Cynthia Cooper confronted him with the fraud.
Well, at that particular point in time, the weight was lifted off my shoulders because I had lived at that point for better part of a year where every waking moment and every thought somehow found its way back to the things that were going on and, what could possibly happen. And then at that point when Cynthia asked the question, I never fast forwarded through the entire process to know that I would be indicted and that I would spend literally thousands of hours being interviewed by the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office here in the Southern District of New York, that I would plead guilty, that and for the even the most humiliating parts were when I was actually indicted and brought to court, literally in handcuffs, in front of effectively the entire world, and even worse, my family. But I never thought that what we were doing was criminal. I thought what we were doing was very aggressive and wrong, but I'd never seen an accountant go to jail. I was doing what my boss told me to do and my boss's boss told me to do. It has been a troubling time since, and again, the reason I'm doing this is to make sure that if another person is put in that situation, that maybe they fast forward through. What is the results? What are the consequences of the actions that I'm about to embark upon? And because I could have never told you that this would have been the result of the way that it started out as being something that I honestly thought was aggressive. Then it became a little bit more aggressive, then it became more aggressive, then it became wrong. And at some point in time, it became criminal. And so what I would say is that, once you make a mistake, if you make another mistake that only adds on top of it, it compounds the problem. What I should have done from the very beginning was I should not have continued following up on the instructions that I was being asked to follow, and I should have followed my own thoughts, my own morals, my own ethics. And for those things, I'm completely remorseful and whatever else. I can't believe that I did what I did. But in the process of doing it, I was able to rationalize why what I was doing was the right thing for the company, because my boss was asking me to do it, and he convinced me that I was doing what I knew to be wrong. He said, you need to do that for the best interest of the company. And I should have known that that was not the case. For me in particular, I went through life and did all the things that many of the people that now are with Ernst & Young have done. Went through college, made, great grades, was in the accounting honorary, did all the things that you should do, never had a problem in life. So when you look at, where I am today and where some of the people that are in their first years or their first 5 years or whatever it's accounting, I was exactly that person. So, I guess the question that I ask myself is how do bad things happen to good people? Don't know that I'm actually that good a person, but bad things definitely happened. And one of the things I'll tell you is that as human beings, when pressure is applied to a human being, you never know what the outcome is going to be. And so I would continually be mindful and making sure that
So remember that if pressure is put on you by the boss, you have to be careful. Like this guy is being put under pressure by his boss, so he was doing those things initially, and he had no choice but to join.
what you're doing is you live up to your own ethics and your own morals, and you don't ever allow anyone else's ethics or morals to override your own. And at the end of the day, is what you're being asked to do, is it something that you're comfortable at doing? Or are you doing it because you think you owe it to someone else? Now, I think that you need to be loyal to your employer. You need to be doing those kind of things, but you can take that over, to a step that's unhealthy, and that's what happened with me. And you need to watch individuals that are like me in that they are pleasers. Anybody that wants to, including yourself. I mean, if what you're trying to do is make sure that at the end of the day, you're trying to make sure everybody else is pleased with the things that you do, you allow yourselves to do things that maybe you shouldn't be doing. So again, keep grounded, make sure that your morals and your ethics are yours, and stick by them.
For many reasons, some of us choose to obey the boss blindly, but I think that that's not what we're taught here. We're taught to think critically, to ask questions. Professional skepticism is very high on our list.
That inner voice always tells you to question things, to question everything. Why is this happening? Why is that happening? Is this happening for the right reason? Is this happening for the wrong reason? That is kind of our moral guiding compass, our ethical compass that I think will help us point the way as to whether something's right or wrong.
We've got to recognize that even the people that we're friendly with, that we believe are above board and live, do the right thing all the time, even those people could commit errors or fraud.
Our clients are experiencing pressure to meet earnings targets, and they are experiencing difficulties in meeting sales targets. And I think that in this environment, we need to be increasingly aware that they may feel pressure from their superiors to do something that is not right.
It's difficult in terms of to know when to reach out. And I think anytime that you sort of pause and you question your own moral instincts and you say, is this right? Should I be doing this? I think that's a safe bet. I think it's wiser to ask more than to ask less.
The best thing we have for us at Ernst & Young here is our network of people. It's really important for myself and my peers and my colleagues to leverage off our network of all our individuals that we have in this firm.
We would also have consultation with our partner, our independent review partner. There's also the PPD network to consult.
And then also the EY ethics hotline. Whether you want to say who you are or be anonymous, that there's so many people here at Ernst & Young that you can go to if you have questions or need help about anything.
I think as a firm, we do an excellent job of, making resources available to people and putting them in situations where they can make a difference and they can speak out. And so I'm very proud of the firm for that.
We all make occasional mistakes in judgment. What's essential is not to make a second mistake trying to fix the first one. Like David Myers, you could find yourself halfway down the mountain before you even realize you're on a slippery slope. Always remember that Ernst & Young has a strong culture of consultation. If something does not seem right to you, it's your obligation to consult with your colleagues and your leaders. You can talk to the leader of your engagement team, your office or sub-area. Call me or one of my colleagues in the Office of Ethics and Compliance, or use the ethics hotline. Our culture of consultation can help you get to the right answer. Collectively, we are stronger and smarter than any one of us. And remember, no one in this firm has ever gotten into trouble for consulting too much. Thank you for watching and for all your dedication to doing the right thing.
You are mute, sir.
Thank you, Nora. Can you hear me now? I was muted.
Yes.
Okay, great. So I think in your exam essay question, you may want to stress a bit on the ethics issue, because you can see that Ernst & Young and some of these accounting firms actually spend a lot of time now under their SOP to train and to educate their junior auditors, senior auditors, and partners on ethics. On ethics. In fact, directors now have to go for this some kind of ethical class, and also conflict of interest situation. They have to be educated to know those situations where what needs to be done, so they cannot say that they don't know lah, right? So ethics is an important aspect. In fact, to be a MIA member, to be a member of professional bodies, you have to go through some ethics course lah, right? Actually, I'm also a member of some of this investment advisory license holder, and every year I have to go for online exam quiz, go online to answer questions on money laundering, things on AMLAR, and also things on ethics. We are supposed to go through what are the ethical situation, and we are supposed to answer those questions where they give you case studies, on how you should act in certain circumstances. So the two things we talk about today on ethics, and also earlier on, the Sabar video I show you on education, very important, educate the public. So ethics one is more like you educate the auditors, the accountants, the internal auditors, whereas for the capital market service fund to the public development fund is to educate the general public, the general public on what to look out for, in terms of fraud, accounting fraud, creative accounting, so that people can open their eyes and be able to detect such things before it blows up too big. So this one we are trying to get you guys ready for the essay exam question. It's 4 hours, right? So we expected to write, quite a fair bit. Maybe we might see another, because WorldCom is quite a big one. So if we are asked to compare Server Dynamic with, say, WorldCom, which I think is probably quite likely, rather than with Transmile, but no harm knowing about Transmile also. So the pairing possible is Server Dynamic with WorldCom. I think it's likely. It could be Server Dynamic with Enron, which is possible. Maybe not so probable server dynamic compare with Transmile, I don't know. But no harm knowing about it also lah, which I've just played the video just now. You can rewatch it again on the recording, on the case behind Transmile. Okay, we will see another one on the WorldCom as well. Yeah, just now the one is on ethics. It's actually the guy that got caught, went to jail, and he come out and talk to you and say and give you his reason why he did it. Yeah, why he did it. So his answer was he was actually being misled into it by his boss. The boss make use of you, which is entirely possible. Maybe I believe him lah. So because he trusts his boss, he look up to his boss as a hero. So he did like a good subordinate should be lah. But because of that, he went to jail for 1 year. But he should be happy to know that his boss got 5 years jail and he got 1 year. But if he's acted in a smart way, then he wouldn't have had to go to jail, right? Under which section? Under whistleblower. He should have gone and whistleblow to somebody or to the right organization, to the SC to cover himself. Yeah. So when it blows up, he would have been safe and he would have still keep his job. Yeah. He wouldn't have to lose his job. Yeah. Because he's protected under the Whistleblower Act. Okay. Okay. Let's watch another presentation. I think on WorldCom. You have to know your WorldCom well. I think for exam purposes. Okay. Let me put it on.
Kenalkan, kami dari kelompok 6 yang beranggotakan saya sendiri, Virginia, kemudian Hesky, Alvita, Christina, Susi, Tiffany, Fionita, dan Jonathan Darren. Pada video kali ini, kelompok kami akan menjelaskan mengenai kasus fraud yang terjadi pada sebuah perusahaan telekomunikasi yang sangat terkenal di Amerika Serikat, yaitu WorldCom. Yang pertama adalah company background. WorldCom adalah sebuah perusahaan telekomunikasi yang didirikan oleh Bernard John Ebbers pada tahun 1983 di Amerika Serikat. WorldCom sendiri pernah menjadi salah satu perusahaan telekomunikasi global yang terkemuka dan beroperasi di lebih dari 65 negara. Bisnis utama dari WorldCom adalah layanan komunikasi termasuk suara, data, internet, dan layanan internasional dengan jangkauan jaringan globalnya melebihi 155.000 km. Termasuk di dalamnya koneksi berkapasitas tinggi ke lebih dari 70.000 bangunan. WorldCom menggunakan strategi on-net yang memberikan keuntungan seperti biaya operasi yang rendah dan juga kehandalan yang unggul bagi pelanggan. Sayangnya, WorldCom telah mengalami kebangkrutan pada tahun 2002 akibat melakukan penipuan akuntansi besar-besaran. Kasus WorldCom merupakan salah satu kasus kebangkrutan terbesar dalam sejarah Amerika Serikat. Selanjutnya, saya akan menjelaskan sejarah dari perusahaan WorldCom secara ringkas. Penjelasan ini akan dibagi menjadi 2 masa, yaitu masa keemasan yang dimulai dari waktu pendirian hingga perusahaan mencapai tingkat kesuksesan tertinggi, dan juga masa kebangkrutan. Pada masa keemasan, dimulai pada tahun 1983, Bernie Ebbers, Bill Fields, David Singleton, dan Murray Waldron mulai merancang pendirian Long Distance Discount Service atau LDDS pada sebuah kedai kopi yang terletak di Hattiesburg, sebuah kota di Mississippi. Menariknya, nama Long Distance Discount Service ini direkomendasikan oleh seorang pelayan wanita di kedai tersebut. Kemudian pada tahun 1988, LDDS mulai mengakuisisi perusahaan-perusahaan telekomunikasi kecil, yakni sekitar 6 perusahaan, dan memperluas cakupan bisnisnya ke Amerika Serikat. Lalu pada Desember 1994, LDDS mengakui IDB WorldCom yang merupakan sebuah perusahaan telekomunikasi internasional. Selanjutnya, pada rapat tahunan LDDS tahun 1995, LDDS mengubah namanya menjadi WorldCom dengan Bernard Ebbers sebagai CEO. Mulai dari tahun 1996 sampai dengan 1999, WorldCom terus melakukan merger dan akuisisi guna memperluas cakupan bisnisnya dan menghilangkan kompetitor dalam industri telekomunikasi. WorldCom melakukan akuisisi terhadap UUNet Teknologi pada tahun 1996, merger dengan MCI pada tahun 1997, akuisisi terhadap Brooks Fiber Properties dan CompuServe pada 1998, serta merger dengan Sprint pada 1999. Sayangnya merger dengan Sprint dibatalkan pada Juni karena Departemen Kehakiman Amerika Serikat berpendapat bahwa merger akan membatasi persaingan pasar, serta Uni Eropa beranggapan bahwa terlalu banyak layanan internet dalam satu perusahaan. Masih pada satu tahun yang sama, yakni 1999, harga saham WorldCom mencapai titik tertinggi yakni 64,5 US dollar per lembarnya. Selanjutnya, saya akan menjelaskan masa kejatuhan atau kebangkrutan dari perusahaan WorldCom ini. Pada tahun 2000, harga saham WorldCom mulai merosot dan mengakibatkan Bernie Ebbers terpaksa menjual 3 juta sahamnya untuk membayar hutang. Bernie Ebbers juga mulai melakukan pemecatan karyawan. Lalu pada tanggal 29 April 2002, Bernie Ebbers mengundurkan diri sebagai CEO setelah Komisi Sekuritas dan Bursa Amerika Serikat mengadakan investigasi praktik akuntansinya serta ia kehilangan dukungan dari Dewan Direksi. Sebenarnya alasan utama Bernie Ebbers mengundurkan diri adalah ia telah menggunakan uang perusahaan sebesar 366 juta US dollar untuk menutupi investasi pribadinya. Kemudian Bernie Ebbers digantikan oleh John Sidmore. Pada tanggal 14 Juni 2002, John Sidmore memberhentikan sekitar 17.000 karyawan. Karena situasi yang semakin tidak kondusif, harga saham WorldCom jatuh hingga 91 sen pada 24 Juni 2002. Meskipun harga sahamnya jatuh hingga 20 sen, WorldCom mengumumkan adanya kenaikan pendapatan hingga 3,8 miliar US dollar pada tanggal 25 Juni 2002. Selanjutnya, pada 26 Juni 2002, Komisi Sekuritas dan Bursa Amerika Serikat mengajukan tuduhan kecurangan kepada WorldCom setelah menemui adanya konflik di antara rekomendasi saham publik dan komentar mencurigakan dalam email pribadi. Setelah banyak konflik yang terus terjadi dan harga saham yang semakin menurun, WorldCom memprediksi terjadinya kebangkrutan sehingga mereka mengajukan UU Perlindungan Kebangkrutan Pasal 11 pada tanggal 21 Juni 2002. UU Perlindungan Kebangkrutan Pasal 11 berkaitan dengan reorganisasi terhadap urusan debitur, hutang, dan aset dari sebuah perusahaan. Selanjutnya, pada 1 Agustus 2002, tuduhan Komisi Sekuritas dan Bursa Amerika Serikat terbukti kebenarannya, sehingga Scott Sullivan, David Mayers, dan Bernie Ebbers ditangkap atas tuduhan kecurangan sekuritas, serta konspirasi dan pelaporan pernyataan palsu kepada SEC. Pada 8 Agustus 2002, akhirnya ditemukan 3,3 miliar USD lainnya yang tidak sesuai dengan ketentuan akuntansi, sehingga terdapat total 7,5 miliar US dollar jumlah pencatatan yang tidak tepat.
Tindakan fraud dalam WorldCom dapat terjadi karena beberapa faktor pendukung, sehingga dapat disimpulkan ke dalam fraud diamond, yaitu yang pertama adalah pressure atau tekanan. Bernard Ebbers, yaitu CEO WorldCom, memberikan perintah untuk meningkatkan pendapatan periode berjalan perusahaan, sehingga memberikan tekanan kepada Scott Sullivan selaku CFO, karena keduanya telah mengetahui bahwa perusahaan tidak akan mencapai proyeksi triwulan dan tentunya akan mempengaruhi harga saham. Dikarenakan perusahaan tidak mencapai proyeksi triwulanan, maka Sullivan mendesak Troy Norman dan Betty Vincent untuk melakukan fraud dengan membuat jurnal penyesuaian yang salah untuk meningkatkan pendapatan perusahaan. Norman dan Vincent merupakan kepala keluarga, sehingga mereka terpaksa supaya tidak kehilangan pekerjaan. Kemudian opportunity atau kesempatan. WorldCom merupakan perusahaan telekomunikasi terbesar kedua di dunia dan melakukan akuisisi perusahaan telekomunikasi lain dengan agresif untuk memperluas cakupan bisnis dan menghilangkan pesaing. Namun, dengan strategi akuisisi ini, hasil keuangan perusahaan menjadi lebih kompleks sehingga memudahkan terjadinya fraud. Selain itu, biaya beban yang WorldCom miliki selalu konsisten setiap tahunnya sehingga auditor tidak menaruh kecurigaan terhadap prosedur pencatatan biaya perusahaan. Yang ketiga adalah rationalization atau rasionalisasi. Para pekerja menganggap bahwa tindakan mereka benar karena demi kebaikan nama perusahaan. Pemikiran yang seperti ini akan terus mendoktrin para pegawai untuk tetap melakukan penipuan. WorldCom sendiri berpikir bahwa mereka sebagai perusahaan telekomunikasi yang besar sudah sewajarnya bagi mereka untuk menjadi perusahaan yang terbaik dalam hal mengelola pengeluaran dibandingkan perusahaan lainnya. Dan untuk menunjukkan kewajaran tersebut, manajer menggunakan segala cara asal nama baik perusahaan tetap terjaga. Kemudian yang terakhir adalah capability atau kemampuan. Pada dasarnya, orang yang memiliki kedudukan yang tinggi mampu untuk melakukan kecurangan karena telah memahami sistem yang digunakan organisasi untuk melakukan penipuan. Pada kasus WorldCom, Ebers dan Sullivan telah menyadari bahwa perusahaan tidak akan mencapai proyeksi triwulan sehingga Sullivan bekerja sama dengan tim akuntansi untuk melakukan penyesuaian laporan keuangan. Tim akuntansi mencatat pengurangan penyusutan secara teratur sehingga tidak menimbulkan kecurigaan pada auditor. Selain itu, mereka juga rutin mengkapitalisasi line expense sehingga transaksi terlihat normal. Dan saat melakukan akuisisi baru, manajemen meningkatkan nilai aset dan membentuk biaya cadangan. Ketika beban aktual lebih kecil, tim akuntansi mendebit liabilitas dan mengkredit beban sehingga laba bersih pada periode berikutnya akan meningkat. Next. Berdasarkan penjelasan faktor pendukung sebelumnya, dapat diambil kesimpulan bahwa motivasi manajemen untuk melakukan kecurangan adalah untuk meningkatkan laba pada laporan keuangan dengan cara mencatat miliaran biaya sewa sebagai aset tetap. Manajer termotivasi untuk melakukan penipuan ini untuk memenuhi proyeksi pendapatan dan untuk menunjukkan bahwa perusahaan mereka mampu mengelola biaya lini mereka lebih baik daripada pesaing lainnya. Dengan besarnya nominal pendapatan di dalam laporan keuangan, maka kinerja WorldCom juga terlihat sangat bagus, sehingga diharapkan dapat menarik banyak investor dan dapat menghindari kebangkrutan.
Financial statement fraud scam yang dilakukan oleh WorldCom dimulai di tahun 2000-an, di mana pada saat itu perusahaan mengalami pemerosotan pendapatan dan utang yang semakin besar. Menghadapi situasi tersebut, CEO yaitu Bernard Ebers, CFO yaitu Scott Sullivan, dan auditornya David Myers akhirnya memutuskan untuk melakukan tindak kecurangan, yaitu pemalsuan laporan keuangan. Pemalsuan atau manipulasi ini dimaksudkan untuk memperlihatkan ke investor bahwa kinerja perusahaan masih dalam kondisi yang bagus dan baik-baik saja. Dan investor tetap mau mempercayakan modalnya di perusahaan ini. Cara manipulasi yang dilakukan oleh WorldCom terbagi menjadi dua, yaitu memindahkan akun line cost ke akun modal, yang mana seharusnya itu dicatat di akun beban. Pemindahan akun ini sebenarnya tidak diperbolehkan. Line cost merupakan biaya yang dibayarkan ke penyedia jaringan telekomunikasi pihak ketiga untuk hak mengakses jaringan, sehingga sering juga disebut dengan biaya jaringan. Adanya pemindahan akun ini membuat akun pengeluaran atau beban terlihat lebih sedikit dan akun pendapatan terlihat lebih besar. Alhasil, perusahaan terlihat mengalami profit atau laba. Yang kedua, mengentri akun palsu yang ditulis sebagai akun pendapatan perusahaan yang tidak teralokasi, yang mana akun ini sebenarnya fiktif dan tidak diperbolehkan juga. Alhasil, dalam laporannya sebesar 3 miliar 5 juta US dollar salah diklasifikasikan pada 2001, dan sisanya sekitar 797 juta US dollar pada triwulan pertama tahun 2002, sehingga total lebih dari 3,8 miliar US dollar yang dipalsukan entry-nya, agar perusahaan terlihat mengalami laba.
Selanjutnya ada kantor akuntan publik yang terlibat dalam kasus ini adalah Arthur Andersen yang merupakan salah satu dari Big Five. Di dalam perusahaan WorldCom, kita sudah dengar bahwa sering terjadi banyak kecurangan atau fraud, tetapi KAP Arthur Andersen selalu menolak memberikan jawaban yang jelas. Ketika ditanya oleh Wakil Ketua Internal Audit Perusahaan, KAP Arthur Andersen menolak menjawab dan telah mengakui dan menerima beberapa metode akuntansi kreatif. Ditambah ketika ditemui nilai-nilai yang tidak wajar dan tanpa dokumen pendukung, audit dari KAP Arthur Andersen menolak untuk berkomentar dan akun-akun tersebut dapat diabaikan. Pada akhirnya, semua terbongkar ketika WorldCom terus mengalami keuntungan yang besar, sedangkan kompetitornya mengalami kerugian. WorldCom akhirnya bangkrut dan kredibilitas Arthur Andersen diragukan karena sudah menyebabkan kebangkrutan dua perusahaan dan Itu yang terbesar dalam sejarah Amerika Serikat.
Auditor involved. Cynthia Cooper yang merupakan Wakil Ketua Badan Internal Audit itu melakukan penyelidikan terhadap financial fraud statement bersama dengan timnya. Jadi Cynthia Cooper ini merupakan salah satu penyebab tumbangnya perusahaan WorldCom dengan whistleblowing. Nah, kronologinya itu ketika ia membentuk tim untuk melakukan penyelidikan. Nah, untuk tidak mengundang kecurigaan dari para atasannya, Cynthia Cooper bersama timnya itu sering bekerja lembur. Dan pada suatu titik, Scott Sullivan, CFO WorldCom, sempat meminta Cooper untuk menunda penyelidikannya. Namun, pada akhirnya, rekan tim yaitu Gene Morse menemukan kejanggalan pada jurnal. Terdapat sebesar 500 juta US dollar dalam biaya komputer, namun tidak ada bukti pendukungnya. Penyelidikan jurnal yang dibuat terus dilanjutkan dan pada akhirnya memiliki total sebesar 3,8 miliar US dollar. Cynthia Cooper dan timnya itu juga mempertanyakan KAP tentang penarikan modal penutup hutang yang ditarik oleh CFO, tetapi itu juga ditolak oleh KAP dan dijawab bahwa dirasa cadangan tersebut tidak diperlukan.
Auditor negligence of fraud. WorldCom telah melakukan fraud karena dengan sengaja memanipulasi laporan keuangan. Tidak hanya sekali, tetapi dari tahun 2000 sampai 2002. Penyebab fraud yang dilakukan merupakan kombinasi dari faktor pressure opportunity, rationalization, and capability. Fraud yang dilakukan terbagi menjadi dua, yaitu yang pertama, mengklasifikasi line cost dari pengeluaran menjadi pendapatan. Yang kedua, membuat unconflicted pendapatan yang tidak terlokasi.
Aftermath. Nah, pada akhirnya perusahaan WorldCom mengalami kebangkrutan dan meninggalkan hutang miliaran dolar yang menyebabkan kehancuran bagi perusahaan WorldCom. Sedangkan untuk KAP Arthur Andersen sendiri kehilangan keindependensiannya dan kehilangan kepercayaan dari masyarakat. Hal ini sangat merugikan dan berdampak kepada banyak pihak. Salah satu contohnya yaitu untuk para karyawan yang bekerja di KAP Arthur Andersen akan sangat sulit untuk mendapatkan pekerjaan akibat dari kasus ini. Nah, pada akhirnya juga David F. Myers mengundurkan diri, sedangkan Scott Sullivan tidak mau mengundurkan diri sehingga ia dipecat. Setelah itu, WorldCom mengumumkan kenyataan dari keadaan keuangan perusahaan yang sebenarnya, dan seluruh dunia akhirnya mengetahui bahwa perusahaan ini telah memasukkan pendapatannya sebesar 3,8 miliar dolar US. Kebangkrutan WorldCom merupakan kebangkrutan terbesar dalam sejarah Amerika pada saat itu, dengan nilai asetnya sebesar 103,9 miliar dolar US. Bernard Ebbers akhirnya dipenjara selama 25 tahun karena terbukti bahwa ia terlibat dalam penipuan memanipulasi laporan keuangan. Sedangkan Scott Sullivan sendiri dikenakan hukuman 5 tahun penjara. Pada tahun 2002, pemerintah Amerika mengeluarkan sebuah peraturan perundang-undangan yang disebut dengan Sarbanes-Oxley Act 2002 atau biasa disingkat dengan SOX atau Sarbox. SOX ini dikeluarkan untuk mencegah terjadinya kasus seperti WorldCom dan beberapa kasus lainnya yang dapat terulang. SOX juga bertujuan untuk melindungi investor atas perusahaan-perusahaan terbuka karena SOX merupakan pengendalian internal perusahaan yang mengharuskan perusahaan publik membuat laporan keuangan yang sangat mendetail, termasuk memberikan analisa mengenai kekurangan dari risiko yang dihadapi perusahaan.
Setiap anggota kelompok kami telah menyuarakan opini dan pendapat terhadap kasus tersebut. Masing-masing mengemukakan dua, di mana semua opini dan pendapat itu disimpulkan dan menghasilkan 10 poin penting yang berlaku juga sebagai kesimpulan dari presentasi kami pada video ini. Poin pertama merupakan kesetiaan. Skandal tersebut pada awalnya terjadi karena controller lebih mempercayai pengalaman seseorang dibanding dengan moralnya sendiri sebagai seorang auditor profesional. Maka sangat penting untuk terus mengingatkan diri atas kode etika profesional dan selalu dijunjung di atas segalanya. Poin kedua adalah iringan. Selain dari kesetiaan, pada awalnya terjadi skandal karena controller tidak mampu membujuk CFO jika perusahaan memang sedang mengalami kerugian. Controller seharusnya membawa seorang anggota dari timnya sendiri yang telah menyusun laporan keuangan beserta dengan beberapa dokumen pendukung yang dapat lebih membuktikan posisi perusahaan secara keuangan. Poin ketiga adalah pengendalian internal. Terdapat beberapa contoh yang dapat dilakukan perusahaan yang merupakan kedua aksi prevention dan detection. Meskipun mayoritas dari yang telah disebutkan merupakan fraud detection controls. Kemudian poin selanjutnya terdapat pernyataan yang jelas. Dengan mengeluarkan pernyataan yang jelas dan detail, tidak akan ada kesalahpahaman dan dapat melanjutkan transparansi perusahaan. Dicurigai bahwa salah satu alasan mengapa KAP tidak menganggap bahwa praktek akuntansi meragukan dikarenakan pernyataan yang singkat, tidak jelas, dan ambigu. Pada poin kelima terdapat laba yang bersih. Manajer dari sebuah perusahaan yang sudah IPO pasti akan fokus kepada pemegang kepentingannya tertinggi dalam pandangan mereka, yakni pemegang saham. Maka untuk memastikan pemegang saham tetap puas, para manajer akan melakukan segala hal untuk terus mendapatkan keuntungan, termasuk juga cara yang mengundang penipuan. Harus diingat bahwa pendapatan harus diperoleh melalui metode yang legal. Poin keenam adalah integritas. Pada masa itu, WorldCom merupakan perusahaan pemimpin pada industrinya. Seharusnya perusahaan menjadi sebuah teladan dan menjunjung tinggi nilai integritas di atas laba. Ini dilaksanakan supaya perusahaan lain dalam industri tidak ikut terlibat dalam skandal. Karena jika semua perusahaan dalam suatu industri terlibat skandal, maka akan terjadi krisis finansial yang lebih parah lagi. Mendekati akhir, poin nomor 7 merupakan konsultasi. Controller seharusnya tidak bertanya terhadap opini CFO saja, namun juga kepada konselor profesional supaya dapat terjaga unsur objektivitas dan transparansi, terutama jika CFO meminta untuk melakukan hal yang tidak sejalan dengan kode etika profesional. Walaupun bagi beberapa orang ini tidak penting, budaya korporasi merupakan poin nomor 8. WorldCom menggunakan konsep top-down. Ini dapat memungkinkan rekayasa data karena para manajer akan mengolah data sesuai dengan kemauan mereka daripada sesuai dengan kenyataan. Disarankan oleh kelompok kami bahwa ini diubah menjadi bottom-up supaya lebih transparan dan lebih jelas dan detail. Kemudian ada rasionalisasi sebagai poin ke-9. Rasionalisasi manajer sangat penting dalam manajemen perusahaan. Ini dapat menyebabkan poin ke-5 atau laba yang bersih. Mindset dan rasionalisasi yang baik harus tetap terjaga supaya para manajer tetap melaksanakan tugas mereka sesuai dengan standar yang berlaku dan juga regulasi yang ada daripada melaksanakan penipuan. Poin terakhir ada pemeriksaan latar belakang dan performa. KAP yang akan dipilih menjadi auditor eksternal harus diuji dulu dalam sisi manajemen, efisiensi, efektivitas, integritas, karakteristik audit, dan juga faktor penting lainnya sebagai pemeriksaan performa. Pemeriksaan latar belakang dapat merupakan pemeriksaan terhadap track record perusahaan, personil KAP apabila ada yang memiliki hubungan dekat dengan petinggi perusahaan. Semua ini dilaksanakan supaya sesuai dengan standar dan tetap terjaga objektivitas. Next. Memang benar, perusahaan harus mendapatkan laba untuk terus hidup. Namun itu saja sudah tidak cukup, sehingga menyebabkan perancangan piramida CSR dan performa global. Pada tingkat teratas terdapat filosofi yang dapat menjadi jalan perusahaan untuk jangka yang sangat panjang. Ini harus didukung oleh faktor yang lainnya supaya bisa terlaksana. Di bawah itu kemudian ada etika yang harus terus diingat dan dilaksanakan dalam segala unsur aktivitas perusahaan. Setelah itu terdapat unsur legal yang memastikan bahwa aktivitas perusahaan setiap tahap yang ada disesuaikan dengan regulasi yang berlaku. Pada akhirnya ada ekonomis atau keuangan sebagai tingkat yang paling bawah. Ini dapat menggambarkan kepentingan konsep seperti integritas, akuntabilitas, dan transparansi di atas lainnya. Next. Sekian dari presentasi kami. Dengan ini kami berharap dapat memperluas wawasan Anda terhadap kasus tersebut dan juga sadar terhadap kepentingan integritas, moral, dan akuntabilitas. Kami ingin meminta maaf jika telah salah bertutur kata. Sekian dan terima kasih.
Halo semuanya, perkenalkan kami dari kelompok 6 yang beranggotakan saya sendiri.
So that particular presentation talks about ESG, environmental, social, and governance, and also they believe that the organization should have all this social, environmental governance, like your Malaysian Code on Corporate Governance. If they have all that in place, then maybe it could have prevented the accounting scandal from becoming so big. It will be stopped much earlier, if all the people have been educated to be to be ethical and not to do the wrong thing. Okay. Okay, let's go back to okay, so we have basically went through this. Can you hear me okay now? I'm not on mute, huh? Okay, so we have discussed about cyberdynamic, discussed about WorldCom. Okay, and what's the role of Companies Act 2016? 2016 and whether to prevent creative accounting. So do go through this particular sections on the financial statements and the auditing, and I would expect you to write something comprehensive on that lah, because you already done the quiz assignment. It's basically a rehash of that. So you guys are lucky. Kill two birds with one stone, huh? The section that require company to have proper internal control, I mentioned to you the section already, and you should repeat what is in that section here about what needs to be done, and if you do not follow, directors get how many years jail, and that kind of thing. Yeah, and also remember the definition of internal control, okay, which is in your book. I mentioned in your lecture notes, that particular page. There's 6 factors. There are procedures being put in place by the directors, board of directors, and management to safeguard assets, promote efficiency, blah, 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 blah. There's 5 of them. And I added one more, number 6, which is to ensure compliance with the relevant regulations, with all regulations, yeah, with all regulations and laws. So there's 6-pointer. You need to define that. Okay, discuss the power and duties of auditors, the whole section in the quiz. That section, there's so many. So do repeat that. Can the auditor prevent all fraud? Answer is no, because it can be done with collusion of top management, and because the external auditor only come in once a year, he may not be able to detect that. So who could detect all these frauds? Could be the internal auditors and the forensic auditors. Yeah, so both are important. Both the external auditor and the internal auditors, they work hand in hand. They cannot prevent all frauds from occurring. Just like internal control, you must mention in your answer that it cannot ensure absolute deterrence, or it can only give reasonable assurance. You cannot give absolute assurance. Mention that in your answer, which is also in the Act. You can see in the Act, the word is reasonable assurance, not absolute assurance. Okay. So can they prevent all fraud from occurring? Answer is no. They can only have a system to try and detect, but they cannot detect all frauds from happening. People are very creative. The more control you put in, the more they will try to, to short circuit the system. What are the general requirement of financial statement? Again, that is in your ACTA lah. Look at that and repeat. Okay. What is statement of internal control? Now, if you look at the annual report, there's a statement of internal control in the annual report, which is required by Bursa listing rule. In fact, it is called Statement of Internal Control and Risk Management now. The name has been changed slightly. This is a declaration by the Board of Directors whether control systems are functioning and whether there are any weaknesses. Okay, they have to mention a lot of things, what they have done during the year, and the statement of internal control needs to be audited. It has to be audited by an external auditor to come in, who will go and go through the statement to see that what they are saying is actually happening. Now, what I'll do is maybe I will share a copy of the annual report that has this particular statement, so that you will know what I mean. Give me a second while I try and look for that particular statement of internal control. I'll look for annual report first. Okay, can you see this? This is a company called Bright Packaging. Bright Packaging. So this is a company that manufactures some, the cigarette box, the seal that make the box, make it airtight. They are the ones who make the seal for the cigarette boxes. So it's called Bright Packaging. So you can see in Bright Packaging annual report, there's a statement of risk management and internal control. Can you see that? Okay, so what is the statement of internal control? Risk management and internal control is made in accordance with the Bursa listing rule. You should put that as an answer, as guided by the statement of internal control guidance for directors of listed company by Bursa Malaysia, which require a public listed company to make a statement in the annual report about the state of internal control. So the statement is a board responsibility, is also a management responsibility, and then the framework is on a group basis, yeah, and it's a risk-based approach. That means they will look at big things that are very risky, rather than look at everything. They would prioritize. They would look into the high-risk areas, high-impact areas, and then they would do risk assessment. Okay, and once they do the risk assessment, they put in place procedures to monitor those risks. So it's part of internal control. In fact, risk management is actually part of internal control. So having internal audit function and all those things is also part of internal control. So this statement is made by the board of directors in the accordance to the resolution. If they do not comply or they feel that the internal control weaknesses, then they should disclose inside here that there's weaknesses. So you can Google this, all right? This thing called Statement of Internal Control. This is an annual report, quite long. Now, this company is very interesting, Bright Packaging. They say they have all kind of internal control, very good, blah, 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 and there's excellent, nothing is not working, everything is working. But then last year, one of their substantial shareholders ran away. Actually, I posted it in the WhatsApp group. He ran away and he siphoned 50 million ringgit from this company by having fictitious procurement. But that was 2 years ago lah. So hopefully now the system has improved, and this statement of internal control and risk management is an accurate reflection of what they've done. So this guy called Ricky Wong is a young fella. He siphoned money out using fictitious procurement documents, and then now Bukit Aman and SC and MACC all looking for him lah. I think he traveled overseas. So what happened is that the Securities Commission have applied to the High Court to confiscate his shares. He got about 30% shares in Bragg Packaging. They're going to confiscate the shares, as part of Capital Market Service Act enforcement action. And you remember, you see his face also in the Securities Commission photograph I showed you last week. If you go to the website, you'll find his face there smiling at you. His name is called Ricky Wong, handsome looking guy. But I'm sure he may have gone for plastic surgery together with Jolo. Jolo also missing, don't know where he went. Okay, so this is the statement of internal control. And the word risk management is put in front there because Bursa want the management to be more alert on risk management. Although actually in internal control, one of the elements of internal control is actually risk management. Okay. But just that Bursa want to remind the directors to always think about risk, risk management. So this is the statement. It's a very long statement, I would recommend that you actually go and look for this company or another company, click on it and run through it, So comprehensive. They want to know what they did during the year, Cannot bluff and say you comply. You must actually say you have done all these things. What have you actually done, right? What actually have you done to, to monitor the risks of your company? Okay. So based on the internal audit function, what have they done? They have done stock receiving, warehousing, occupational health, and payment process. Okay. I can even find out how much they pay the internal auditor. Okay. I think this is an outsourced internal auditor. This outsourced. Let me see how much they pay. They're supposed to disclose how much they pay. Still looking for it. If I don't find it, never mind lah. Okay, so what's the conclusion of the board? The board is of the view that there's no significant breakdown or weaknesses in the current system of internal control. Okay.
Is it the paid is 14,000, that one?
Yeah. Now let me ask you a question. If you pay your internal auditor 14,000 a year, you think the guy is a senior guy? If you pay your internal auditor, not 1 month, 1 year. 1 year you pay him only 14,000 ringgit. You think this guy got any power or not? This internal auditor?
No.
Probably people want to spit in his face, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that Bursa now is checking is how much they pay the internal auditor. If they find that this kind of figure, 14,000, they will ask the company to provide some sample of what they did. Yeah. So that means this internal audit function is actually bluff one. They just do it because it's required by listing rule. So they just hire somebody from outside to go and do some report. This report probably is nothing just 1 or 2 pages long, and then they're paying 14,000. Yeah. So the Bursa Malaysia and Securities Commission already start looking into this, because part of internal control is you must have an internal auditor, right? So this internal auditor must be of somebody got some status in the company. So that's why they start looking into the remuneration package of the internal auditor, which can be outsourced, fair enough. But if you outsource, only pay 14,000, also too little, isn't it? Right? So for in-house, they will expect this in-house guy to be paid at least equivalent to the CFO, lah, right? Correct? Cannot simply just hire anybody. I found one very funny case many years ago. The managing director hired his daughter to become internal auditor, Ken. The managing director hired an internal auditor who is his daughter. Dia punya anak. Ken ah?
Confirm the auditor cannot independent lah.
Yeah lah. But then she said the daughter report to audit committee. So he say lah, because although he hire, but she does not report to him. He say she report to the audit committee. Of course, you know, everybody know lah that in the real case, of course, the daughter will tell the father everything, right? So there's no independence. So in the end, the daughter resigned lah, and then they hire somebody from outside who's not related, because you have to be independent and you have to be seen to be independent also. So something that you look and then feel very funny one, that means not independent already, no, right? So when you ask about this question, you know, just go through one and report lah. You just look at this statement of risk management and internal control, right? This is the question on the ask you to define. So is this audited? Answer yes, it's audited once a year by the external auditor, but it can be by another auditor if they want. But this external auditor probably will be the best person to do the job because they've just finished their external audit. So to do this additional job is just one extra step only lah. So it's more convenient for them to do this job. But this job must be signed off by the audit committee, you know, because it's a strictly speaking, is a non-audit work, is something extra, something extra. So the audit committee need to sign off to approve this. Yeah. Okay. Any questions so far? We are now moving on to all the. No question. Everybody happy so far?
No question, Mr. Ken.
Okay, good. So this open book test is 4 hours. So, but you're lucky that there's a lot of repetition in terms of Companies Act and CMSA, which you've already done. So you can borrow some of those materials to answer this 4-hour exam question. Get it ready, you know, because they already got it. But in what order, we are not sure whether it is server dynamic with WorldCom or server dynamic with Enron or server dynamic with Transmile. We're not sure. So, you know, be prepared for all the 3 circumstances lah. Then you can just feed in the answer. But this particular exam, the first part, they are more related to Akta Syarikat. Whereas your assignment talks about Akta Syarikat and CMSA, right? Yeah, so remember to skew it to Akta Syarikat lah. Okay, let me have a look at okay. Maybe we will look at go through some multiple choice question again. Okay, this one I can't share on the screen, but I will read through the question. Some practice, multiple choice question. Can you hear me? Okay, clear? All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Sir.
The most important role of external auditor in corporate governance should be to protect the interests of shareholders. A, correct. B, wrong. C, protect interests of creditor. D, protect the interests of bank. E, protect the rights of workers and citizens. Which is the correct answer? The most important role of external auditor in corporate governance should be to protect the interests of shareholders. A, correct. B, wrong. C, protect the interests of creditors. D, protect the interests of banks. E, protect the rights of workers and citizens. Anybody? Sarah, you want to try? Or Nora, you want to try? Nobody there to try. Intan?
I think that's wrong, right?
Actually, I would accept wrong or right also lah, because the statement is to protect the interests of shareholders. But if you look at corporate governance, it's also and other stakeholders. So strictly speaking, is to corporate governance to protect the interests of shareholders lah, which is right. But also they also wider aspect also other stakeholders such as employees, such as the people around, you know, the factory, you know, and so on. But I would accept actually true. It is true lah. You protect shareholders, but strictly speaking, you also protect other than shareholder. They also look at other stakeholders. For example, society and also the what they call that the employees as well. Yeah, because when you pollute the factory environment, everybody suffer, right? Not just a shareholder, right? So I would
Suffer is employee, right?
Oh yeah, that's true. So sometimes the answer could be more than one lah. So I think A or B is accepted also lah. Okay, according to the best practice of Malaysian Code on Corporate Governance, the external auditor must have the following qualities: competence, B, independence, C, reliability, D, all of the above. So you should get your best practices, the thing open for your exam, for the 1 hour exam. So according to the best practice of the Malaysian Code on Corporate Governance, 2021, the external auditor must have the following characteristics or quality: A, competence, B, independence, C, reliability, D, all of the above. Anybody? Viru, want to try? Kamaria? Nizam? Nizam not around, is it? On hold. He's on hold. Lian? Kai? This one very simple answer, right? So it should be
all
of the above lah. Must be competent, must be independent, must be reliable. Okay. Malaysian Code on Corporate Governance 2021 require the external auditor to report to A, directors, B, company's creditors, C, audit committee, D, the shareholders. It's not very simple lah. What's the answer?
The question again, sir?
The code on corporate governance require the external auditor to report to A, directors, B, company's creditors, C, audit committee, D, the shareholders. Who the external auditor report to? At the AGM, who will tembak him? Shareholders lah. So the answer is shareholders. The external auditor report to shareholders. Internal auditor report to who? Audit committee.
Audit committee.
Right. Yeah. Audit committee report to who? Audit committee report to who? Audit committee report to the board of directors. So the order is this: external auditor report to shareholder. Internal auditor report to the audit committee. Audit committee report to who? To the board of directors. Yeah. Okay. Who is responsible for the appointment of the external auditor? A, shareholders. B, managing director. C, board of directors in the board meeting. D, audit committee. Who is responsible? C, the board of directors in a board meeting. This is appointment of external auditor. Now, the board of directors in a board meeting can nominate, right? Nominate, but the appointment of the external auditor formally is done by the shareholder in the general meeting. I mean, the director can nominate, an EY to be the auditor, and then this will be tabled at the AGM as one of the agenda item. It be voted on by the shareholder, so the shareholder have the final say. All right. So who is responsible for the appointment of the external auditor? The answer is the shareholders of the company usually in a meeting, AGM. So the board of director in the board meeting only nominate the auditor that they feel is suitable. They can nominate. Okay. Which of the following is not a duty of the internal auditor? Internal auditor. A, report to company's banker. C, report to audit committee. D, duty to, okay, which is following is not a duty of the internal auditor? A, duty to report to company's banker. B, duty to report to the audit committee. C, duty to sign the internal audit reports. D, duty to report on any violation of laws. I repeat again, which of the following is not a duty of the internal auditors as required by the code? A, duty to report to the company's bankers. B, duty to report to the audit committee. C, duty to sign the internal audit reports. D, duty to report on any violation of law. What's the answer? Not the duty of the internal auditor.
Report to banker's company.
Correct. Yeah, it's not his duty to report to the banker. Okay. Okay, when an external auditor is proposed for removal from office, which of the following is he not permitted to do so under the code? A, circulate representation to members. B, apply to the court to have the proposal removed. C, speak at the AGM or EGM where the removal is proposed. D, receive notification of the AGM or EGM where the removal is proposed. I repeat again, which of when an external auditor is proposed for removal from office, it means some shareholder want to sack him lah. He cannot be removed by the management, by the way. Only the shareholders can remove the external auditor once he's appointed. So when external auditor is proposed for removal from office, which one of the following is he not permitted to do so under the Malaysian Code? A, circulate representation to members. Can he do that? Yes. B, apply to court to have the proposal removed. Not sure. C, speak at the EGM when removal is proposed. Yes, he can speak. He's entitled to speak at the EGM. D, receive notification of the EGM where the removal is proposed. Yes, he's entitled to receive the notification. So the answer should be answer B lah. Yeah, because it's not ethical for him to apply to the court to have the proposal removed. It's not ethical. He should let it happen and then talk to the shareholder at the meeting. If you go and stop the EGM by going to the court, that means you got something to hide, right? Yeah. So that for ethical reason, the external auditor should allow it to happen and then speak before the shareholders. Okay, next one. Which of the following is not the responsibility of a company's director and audit committee under Principle 1, 2, and 3 of the Malaysian Code on Corporate Governance? Not the responsibility of the directors and audit committee. Number 1, A, reporting to shareholders on accuracy of the accounts. B, establishment of internal controls. C, keeping proper accounting records. D, supplying information and explanation to the auditors. Which of the following not a responsibility of the company's directors? A, reporting to shareholders on the accuracy of the accounts? Yes or no? B, establishment of internal control. Responsibility of a director? Yes. Keeping proper accounting records? Yes. Supplying information explanation to auditor? Yeah lah, must lah, otherwise
Confirm lah.
yeah, confirm lah.
The
So
answer is A lah.
it's A lah. I mean, they are not interested in accuracy of the accounts. It may be slightly out, it's fine. It is the benar dan saksama. Is it true and fair? Yeah. So they're not interested that you must be balanced to the last cent, you know. Accuracy is benar dan saksama, fair and true and fair. Okay. So that answer is A. Yeah. Next one. Malaysian Code on Corporate Governance is issued by who? A, audit oversight body. B, Financial Accounting Standards Board. C, International Audit and Assurance Standards Board. D, Securities Commission. Answer is the Malaysian Code on Corporate Governance is issued by who? By A.
Commission.
Yes, correct. Securities Commission, the corporate policeman, the one that paid me 1,300 ringgit for something that happened 8 years ago. So all my friends also received, all very happy. By the way, the three fella have to pay about 3 million for punishment. But this punishment, I rather pay because if not, they go for criminal action. You cannot hantam in court for criminal action. You lose the charge. If you lose the case, then you go to jail. Whereas for civil settlement, you pay the money, that's it, matter closed. So I rather pay. If I were them, I rather pay the money. Okay. Maybe they make more money elsewhere to cover up this. This, what they did was called insider trading. That means they trade on inside information not available to the public, and they make money because they are takeover coming, something extra. They buy early or they sell early. Yeah. Sometimes it's not buying early, you sell early also you cannot. There was a case under Supermax, one of the glove company. The fella sold his share. The director sold the shares before the result come out because he know the result will be bad. The CFO told him. So he avoided making losses by selling early. He also cannot insider trading. 1 million fine. 1 million ringgit fine.
The Supermax, right?
Yeah, Supermax. So jalat lah. Yeah. And
Oh,
then
beli helikopter lagi.
Oh yeah, he want to buy aeroplane some more, this time. This buy a jet plane.
But the daughter is not agreed on that, right?
Yeah, and the wife is also not agreeing. Actually, my friend told me the real reason. You want to know the real reason or not?
What is the real reason? Because Maxter is one of our customer.
Okay, this off the record. The real reason is the MD got an affair with a woman in California, where the plane flies there lah. So, so he got maybe isteri kedua or mistress kedua there.
Yeah.
So the daughter and wife not happy.
Yeah.
So the issue of the aeroplane is to take revenge lah, basically. This is I don't know true or not, but this is from reliable information lah. So but I saw his presentation at the meeting AGM where he explains, Stanley explained why he bought the plane. He said he bought a plane because he fly everywhere to do business, save time. And then also he say if you fly with the general plane, he might catch COVID. Then one of the ED say if the MD catch COVID, your business will be delayed, right? So he say while they're flying in the air, they have board meeting in the air one. They don't waste time. And then also they don't have any air hostess. They cook Maggie mee on the plane to eat.
Can you accept the reason the given by him?
There's a reason given by him. It was a 10-minute explanation. So he and then collaborated by his Machaila, his of course a CFO and and what they call it, the executive director is appointed by him. So they collaborated and said it's true, we will have meeting in the plane one. We don't like sleep in the plane. We actually have meeting all the time. And then no air hostess, we save money by cooking ourselves or having Maggie mee on board. Right? So explanation accepted lah.
Accepted lah.
I
Accepted the
accepted.
explanation.
Of course, the wife and daughter didn't say anything lah.
Uh,
Well, actually, the board didn't allow them to say anything. They are what they call it. They've been what that's the word for it. They've been disallowed to talk, right? The board
his
of
wife
directors.
also the board of directors, right?
Yeah, but now denominated as non-executive. That
Yes.
means, so because the husband tell the other board members, to clip the wings of the one daughter already removed, so another daughter now appealing lah. They want to make her as non-executive director also, right? So interesting company, yeah, Supermax.
Yes.
By the way, I have shares in the company. That's why I attended the meeting lah. Yeah.
Okay.
I actually bought the shares when it was very bad at the time at 30-40 cents. You make 100% now, Now it's about $1. Because with all the COVID coming up again, glove company, will pick up in price. Pick up in price. So Stanley Tai got a very interesting history, First he got charged by insider trading. Yeah. Then when this thing over already, he was it's interesting because the time when he was charged with insider trading was during Najib's government. I think he did something to insult Najib during the time he was with the other party lah. So suddenly he found himself being charged with insider trading. The investigators came in. I think there's political reason also lah. So he was charged. Then towards the end of the going to be election time, he apologized publicly to Najib and said that what he did was wrong, to go against him. But in public, he apologized. So when he said that, Rafiza, who was Rafida, Tan Sri Rafida, who was a chairwoman of Supermax, resigned because she felt so terrible, insulted that Stanley would do such a thing to avoid getting into trouble. But then to Stanley Tai, biggest nightmare, Najib lost the election. So he apologized to the wrong guy. So when the new government come in, he had to belakang pusing again to go and praise the new prime minister lah. So he did a lot of things like buy the painting of the new prime minister, pay millions for it, a lot of contribution. Then only the matter was dropped. I think the wife also got charged. Both got charged. And then after a while, quietly it was settled lah. Quietly was settled. So Malaysia boleh lah. That's why our corporate off the record lah.
Yes, off record.
Our system it's too late. It's also recorded. So this thing, we need to revamp the regulation, the enforcement of the regulations. Yeah. So this thing is very interesting. So now we got part 2, which is the aeroplane, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know what is part 3. Maybe Stanley Tai like his life to be very exciting. So we do a lot of this controversial thing to make his life more interesting. Okay, so but you can have a look at his annual report, his statement of internal control, everything. So sometimes I wonder if all these guys copy each other, the penyata, kawalan dalam, and then just rubber stamp, So as part of this enforcement, SC now start to shoot now. In fact, they should do more. Go and audit the statement of internal control. Go and audit the corporate governance statement. If they find them to be not telling the truth, then SC should charge them, for misleading statements. This should be done, should be done. It's part of promotion of corporate governance. Okay. Okay, now we can leave the more spicy thing, go back to the question again. Okay, the fundamental objective of the Malaysian Code on Corporate Governance is A, to detect and prevent fraud. B, protect the interests of minority shareholders and other stakeholders. So this is a complete statement. Protect the interests of minority shareholders and other stakeholders. So it's a very wide encompassing statement. Not just protect shareholders, protect also the collateral damaged people, people around society, the students, the citizen, the people who stay around the factory, there's giving out smoke. For example, like Lafarge, last time they call M Cement, those people will stay around there and may get poisoned from those smoke coming out. Yeah. So corporate
Now
governance.
already closed, right?
Yeah, lah.
Akash and Rawang.
Now it's closed already. So
Ah.
maybe it's effective that somebody, the board member, maybe say, hey, we get a lot of people getting cancer, sick. So let's do something about it for ESG, environmental, social, and governance. Let's clean up the place, make sure it's not polluting before we open up again. Yeah. So corporate governance, not just shareholder and other stakeholder. C, assess the effectiveness of the company's performance. And D, attest to the credibility of the company's account. So you know the answer already, no? Answer is B lah. Protect the interests of the minority shareholder and other stakeholder. Why don't you say protect the interests of the majority shareholder? Why minority shareholder? Because majority shareholder already control the company. They are the ones that will cheat the company, right? Not the minority shareholder. So that's why we need to be protected from the monyet. They say the monyet will makan all the banana in the plantation, right? So this is to protect minority from the monyet. The monyet is the major shareholder who will appoint the CEO, appoint his kaki inside there. So corporate governance means check and balance. Yeah, check and balance. Okay, the concept of the Malaysian Code on Corporate Governance requires internal control and risk management that is adequate. That means that the company's directors and audit committee, A, are responsible for ensuring that the company complies with laws and regulations. Okay, B, are responsible for ensuring that the company pay its tax by the due date. By the way, tax is also corporate governance. You must pay your fair share, If you don't pay any tax and you earn a lot of money, it's not fair, right? So also corporate, so they say you must pay what you should pay. Don't pay more, don't pay less. Pay what you should pay lah. So sometimes orang kaya don't pay tax because they use tax shelter. So that's not fair. All right. C, safeguard the company's assets and manage them on behalf of shareholders. D, all of them. So answer should be all of them.
All of them.
All of them. That's a concept, right? So now now it's already next year, 2024. Now Malaysia going to implement global minimum tax. Just started. Meaning that all the Kuala Masala company come here, overall they must pay at least 15% tax. Because a lot of them start to have tax shelter, they move from UK, US to other country, they end up paying no tax. So it's not fair lah. Not fair. So the world come to an agreement, the whole world have signed an agreement, Europe, US, UK, they all, in Malaysia, Singapore, all signed an agreement, all agree that all these multinational with a certain turnover, more than 700 million euro, must pay minimum of 15%, no matter where they shift. Okay? So this is for what? Fairness of tax, which is corporate governance. Yeah. Okay, how long is the external auditor's term of office that's required by Principle 2? Principle 2 is effective audit and risk management, right? And the best practices of the Malaysian Code. A, until the audit is complete. B, until the financial statements are complete. C, until the next AGM. D, none of the above. What's the answer? How long? The answer is until the next AGM. AGM approved, they will stay until the next AGM. Or somebody want to remove them, call for EGM. Shareholder call for EGM to act the fella lah. Otherwise, he will stay until the next AGM. Then you want to go on, have to be reappointed again. Okay. So the answer is external auditor will stay until the next AGM, his term of office. What about internal auditor? Is the internal auditor the same? How long can the internal auditor stay? What is the term of office that the internal auditor? Anybody? Somebody say AGM. Answer no. Somebody say until audit is complete. Also no. So for audit, for the internal auditor, there's no fixed term. He's appointed by audit committee in-house. If it's in-house, he will stay as long as he's wanted. As long as he's wanted, unless he's been removed because of improper behavior, or something like improper actions, disciplinary, domestic inquiry, that kind of thing. But he cannot be sacked by the CEO, He can only be removed by the audit committee. He report to the audit committee, not the CEO, and then he has a right to be heard. Yes, Nora?
Actually, what is the meaning of this sentence? The audit committee has a policy that required a former key audit partners to observe a cooling off period of at least 2 years before being appointed as a member of the audit committee.
Okay, so sometimes your auditor may be Ernst & Young. The partner could be Mr. Kente lah. I'm the engagement partner. Then after that, after my audit, I left the company. I also left Ernst & Young, no more auditor. And then I apply, or somebody nominate me to be a director of this company, right? Say for Relco Corporation. So I cannot become the director because I have to be away for 2 tahun cooling off period before I can come in.
Okay, understand.
Yes.
So as a member of the committee means you need
Yes,
the 2 years cooling period, right?
Cooling off, yeah. Otherwise, I
cooling
may
off
be
period.
still too near the audit. There may be conflict of interest lah. All right.
Okay,
That means I
understand.
must erase my mind of the audit before I can come in again. It's a rule lah. It's a rule. Yeah. Cooling off period. Okay. I think it's a good practice. Yeah. Last time, remember WorldCom or not, the Enron? Those fellow who are from Arthur Andersen get
Yes,
transferred.
it.
Straight away go in there, become internal auditor, become senior management. So obviously there's conflict of interest, right? You're still kawan with the other side, Arthur Andersen, you come in and vote for Enron. Mana boleh. So they must, under the new regulation, the code on corporate governance, they stay away for 2 years from Arthur Andersen, from the company. 2 years, you cool off, and then you come in. You're clean lah. That means your mind is clean. Okay, no more corrupted. Hopefully. Okay, the Malaysian Code on Corporate Governance is compulsory for all company. Okay, the Malaysian Code on Corporate Governance. No, this is a trick question. The Malaysian Code on Corporate Governance 2023 is compulsory for all companies. Is it true? Or is it false? The Malaysian Code on Corporate Governance 2023 is compulsory for all companies. True or false?
False.
Why false?
Huh?
Why false? But you're right lah. Actually, it's a trick question because they put 2023. Where got 2023? The Corporate Governance Code is what? 2021, right?
Yes.
2023 hasn't come out yet. Maybe later the answer could be yes. So in audit, the same question come out. Now no, but maybe next year yes. So question don't change much, but answer can change. Okay. Okay, now I change the question. The Malaysian Code on Corporate Governance 2021 is compulsory for all companies. True or not?
True, this one, right?
No, false also.
No, false. False also.
Yeah, because the code is voluntary, It's a code on corporate. Code of ethics is voluntary. It's not a legal. Whether you through your own heart you follow lah. Okay.
Follow,
So it's a code. Like for example, it's a code of ethics. I should open the door for ladies, right? But some people don't. Some people don't.
I understand.
So code of ethics on the bus, you see old lady, you're supposed to stand up lah. But sometimes they don't, Yeah. So, but if you're in the bus, somebody stand up for you, then you know you're old lah. Which somebody did for me the other day. Then I realized, oh no, I was standing there and suddenly somebody stood up for me. So I know lah, that means on tour already. Okay, so somebody follow the ethics code. But, okay, so the answer is false. It's not compulsory for all companies. But if you must disclose what you don't follow in your annual report. That is compulsory. Okay, so if you don't follow a particular section of the best practice, you put into annual report what you didn't follow and how you propose to mitigate this problem in the future and a timeline. Okay, so you do that, then it is not an offense. But if you say you follow, for example, you say the best practice, I have internal audit department. but later SC come and audit the company and you don't have such a department, then you can be, the management and the board of directors can be charged in court for misleading statement under the Capital Market Service Act. All right. So non-compliance is not an offense, but non-disclosure of a non-compliance is an offense. Okay. So you hide the thing and you didn't say anything, or you give the impression that you follow, but you actually don't follow. Ini ada kesalahan under Capital Market Service Act. Yang boleh dituduh di mahkamah lah, and you can be on conviction, can be jail on. So why they want to do that is they want to name and shame. They want you to confess and let people question you. All right. So memalukan you lah. If you don't follow this, shareholder will ask you, because it comes out in the annual report for everybody to see. So shareholder will sure ask one, why you don't comply? Yeah. Okay. This one is similar with last week one. Principle 3, how many best practices? Principle 3 is effective what's it called? Effective stakeholder engagement. Effective with your shareholder, like your AGMO must be effective lah. So how many best practices are there in Principle 3? Quickly look. 5, correct? Yeah, 5. How many are there in Principle 2? How many are there? How many best practice?
10.
10.
10.
Count. Principle 2. Okay,
21,
what
10,
about
5.
5? You have the count. I also lost track already. What about Principle 1? How many are there? Principle 1.
Principle 1 is 21.
21. Count, sure.
Yep.
Count, I also get confused. So for your homework, go back and count properly how many there are. Go and count how many there are. Okay. I also dare not confirm. So you go back, open up that pembentangan thing and you count how many best practice in Principle 1, how many best practice in Principle 2, and Principle 3. So directors in real life have to know all these, They are actually been forced to go to the Bursa